What's that name? Do you know what soap did she come from again? Which one do you think?
Neighbours?
Neighbours?
Was it Neighbours or Home and Away?
Did you watch Neighbours when you were growing up, did you?
Yes. Yep.
So name me a few characters. Harold, Bishop.
Well, that would have been the one I could have mentioned.
All right. There you go. There you're stuck.
Kylie Minogue.
No, the character name.
Charlene.
Charlotte. Oh, very good. And what did he call
Jason?
What was he then?
G'day, mate.
What about Mags? Mags was in there.
Mags. Who's
who else?
Paul?
Don't remember
he
Paul.
Was a black curly-haired fella. He's still in it, I think.
Is he?
Yeah.
God, that was the thing. Come home from school and you'd be watching Neighbours at 5:30 or something. Was it 6 o'clock?
Yes, exactly. It was on, these things be on. But there's a lot of fellas don't watch soaps, but they know everything that's going on because it's on.
So
they say, I don't watch them. But then they say, oh, did you hear about Carol? And
Well, listen to me now. See, when you do say
there's
that.
some crack, though.
Tell me this now. I haven't watched soap. What soap would you be not watching?
Not watching Emmerdale and East Coronation Street. But it's ridiculous. There's some scene about the old red limousine and...
You see, you be chill out.
It's on the background, but not as much now as I used to, actually, funny enough.
Right, okay, then.
So
Coronation Street's the favourite,
Me and
then.
Hudson head off and watch TV somewhere
Hudson's birthday on Monday. You just broke the news to me.
The big 04.
Oh, you took you 2 days to get over that one, then?
No, next Monday, Aegis.
I thought you said it was Monday.
Yeah, next Monday.
I thought it was Monday past, and I was thinking that's why I said you had the big party for Hudson.
Bit of a party on Sunday.
Lovely.
And... his birthday on Sunday.
Actually, it was me working out the date. This is his birthday's on the 17th. Mine was on the 14th, and I was thinking, but it's next week.
That's it, boy.
All right. Okay, I'm slowly catching up. Can we have
no
the show
problem.
now?
Take
Welcome
care.
back.
Thanks very much indeed. All right, it is the 9 till noon show. It is 9 o'clock. Let's get a news update. It's over to Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Pupils of Gaelscoil na Geha Maestri in Donegal Town are set to move into their new building this Monday. Almost 2 years ago, works were due to get underway when government decided to halt the construction in conjunction with 70 others across Ireland. The tender for works was due to expire shortly. Phase 3 of construction to see a special education unit erected is hoped to be completed for next year. Principal Owen O'Grada says the students are excited to move into the new build in a few short days.
We had a pizza party for them, and it was very much excitement at the thought that this would be their last day in these prefabricated classrooms, which were not fit for purpose. And I think they all left very, very excited, and in a sense of disbelief as well. Some of them were asking me, is it actually happening? Are we actually moving across to the building?
The backlog in driving tests is causing problems for young people in Inishowen. Councillor Jack Murray says the peninsula has been without a designated tester for over 2 years. The Gaelic says he received an influx of complaints in recent weeks from young people who are finding it hard to secure employment or travel to their colleges as a result. He says his Sinn Féin colleague, Deputy Padraig McLaughlin, will be engaging with the Minister for Transport in a bid to expedite the waiting lists.
You know that when you get your learner permit, it's 6 months before you can even apply, but people are looking at another 6 months, sometimes even more, before they actually get their test. So that's a guts of a year from getting a learner permit until actually being qualified, and that's just not acceptable. Young people in particular, trying to make their start in life, getting to college, access employment, a car is absolutely essential. So I do know that there is some extenuating circumstances, and that the storm that cancelled tests for 2 weeks. But it once again highlights the need that we need more testers across Donegal.
An East Donegal councillor says legal advice is needed to clarify who's liable for overgrown trees along roadsides. Serious concerns have been raised over the danger posed by fallen trees following the death of a 20-year-old man after a tree fell in his car during Storm Éowyn. Councillor Patrick McGowan says it's vital the council establish who has responsibility for maintaining trees on the roadside, and if it's the individual landowners, then grant mechanisms must be found through which they can be helped to do what's necessary.
I know it's very expensive now to remove a tree. You need to bring in the professionals, particularly if you're working along public roads and public areas. You just can't go and cut it down if the tree fell the wrong way with insurance and everything else. So the sooner we find out who is responsible and then set up a mechanism to help them to deal with. I'm not proposing the extreme view that you cut every tree down in Ireland. That's not appropriate even for people to say that. You have to deal with the problem in a sensible manner.
Looking now to weather, cloudy first with outbreaks of rain. The rain will clear northwards through the morning with sunny spells developing. It's all with highs of 9 to 11 degrees. That's all for now from Highland Radio News. Back again at 10 o'clock.
Accidents happen, so it's good to know with Irish Life Health we're there for stitches, burns, breaks and more. With Express Care clinics open 7 days a week. A better life with Irish Life Health. Irish Life Health DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Service provided by Avadea Diagnostics Ireland Limited. Available to ages 1+. Opening hours vary. Terms and conditions apply.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning to you. It's just about to turn 4 minutes past 9 on this Wednesday, the 19th of February 2025. How are you all keeping? I hope you're doing very well indeed. And thanks very much to Michaela, who sat in on Monday and Tuesday. It's great to be back, and it's business as usual. All our lines are open for you. We've lots to discuss on the show today. A lot of parents very vexed and upset as it relates to getting access to the newly expanded and invested in Little Angel School. Quite a number will be joining us to discuss that, and we'll also be speaking to the Minister for Inclusion to try and get some answers on that issue as well. That and so much more besides. 086 60 25,000. That's the WhatsApp and text number. 086 60 25,000. You can message us from wherever you are, of course, or if you want to send a voice note to that number, WhatsApp 086 60 25,000, or give us a call on 07491 25,000. And if you want to email, it's comments@highlandradio.com. And if you want to watch the show, well, why not? If you're at home, open up your smart TV or your Fire Stick and type in Highland Radio Ireland. You can have us on in the corner of the house there, or on your wall, or you can take us in your pocket on YouTube, Facebook, and on X, and on our website, highlandradio.com. Right, let's look at what's making the headlines in some of the papers this morning. We'll start with the local paper out today. That's the Finn Valley Voice. And there is a profound sense of sorrow in parishes across Donegal, particularly in his native Stranorlar, following the passing of the very Reverend Dean Austin Laverty at the age of 87. Father Lafferty was born in Drumbo, Stranorlar in 1937, died suddenly on Saturday. He dedicated many years of faithful service to the Raphoe Diocese after being ordained in June 1962 by Archbishop John Charles McQuaid at St Patrick's College, Maynooth on February 17, 2002. He was appointed a canon of the Cathedral Chapter and later became Dean of the Cathedral Chapter on June 18, 2016. Father Lafferty served as the parish priest of Ardra for 30 years. That's an awful long spell, isn't it? Until he retired not so long ago in 2022. On to the Nationals now. We'll start with the Irish Independent. And this is an interesting one. And there was a local election candidate actually was suggesting this. Now, maybe was even slightly dismissive of such plans, but it could be about to be seen. Cabin-style homes in back gardens are to be exempt from planning rules under new government proposals. It's hoped that this will help provide more housing options and allow households to downsize. The homes can be rented out or used by relatives of the main dwelling's owner. They could also be realistic downsizing options for some people. So presumably you could move into a cabin at the back of your house and rent your house out, your larger house out to a larger family. Minister of State at the Department of Housing, John Cummings, has met with officials to look at how building certain types of exempted properties can be sped up under new planning laws passed last year. Under current rules, extensions of up to 40 square metres to the rear of a property are allowed once they are attached to the property. Mr Cummings wants new planning regulations which would remove the requirement for the add-ons to be attached to the main dwelling. I was under the impression, and maybe it's down further in the article, that you could build something or erect something 16 by 16, isn't that it? Is it 16 foot by 16 foot? And it'd be exempt from planning. Now, maybe this is larger scale stuff, of course. We're talking big meterage. Mr Cummings wants new planning regulations which would remove the requirement for the add-ons to be attached to the main building, as I mentioned. The cabin-style homes would be higher spec, A-rated modular homes. There is an acknowledgement within government that such a measure will only be appropriate in certain settings where there's sufficient space to the rear of the property. So that might not be necessarily in urban areas where a neighbour might feel overlooked or what have you. But what do you think about this? Is this a solution to the housing crisis? Would this mean maybe your kids are living in the backyard, or you're living in the backyard and your kids or another family are living in the main house? Is this something you read and go, wow, okay, this could be a game changer for us? Let us know. 086 60 25,000, staying with accommodation. And I'm just interested if anyone has any lived experience of this, it would be very interested to hear, because apparently many students, far more than you might anticipated, are offered rooms for sex. A new survey of international students renting in Ireland has found an alarming incidence of rooms being advertised in exchange for sex. The Irish Council for International Students conducted the anonymous online survey between September 19th and October 6th last year and took the views of 512 international students. The majority of respondents were from Brazil, 26%, with 17% from India, 15% from Mexico and 10% from Germany. Almost 60 other nationalities were represented in the survey. And the most recent data from the Higher Education Authority shows there were 35,000 plus international students. But anyway, of the 21 people who said they saw a room advertised in exchange for sex, 81% said they saw the advertisement on social media, and 19% said they saw the ad on a housing website, and apparently 1 in 20 experienced the offer of accommodation. Now, is this unique to international students, or is this something perhaps that maybe someone in your family or you yourself has come across? The Irish Daily Mail now. The government is clearing the way for Irish soldiers to be deployed as peacekeepers in Ukraine should a deal to end its war with Russia be agreed. Now, we did have talks yesterday between the United States and Russia in Saudi Arabia, in Riyadh more specifically. And the deployment of peacekeepers in the region to give Ukraine security guarantees has been raised. Taoiseach Micheál Martin and Tánaiste Simon Harris both insisted yesterday that it's too early to discuss the prospect of Irish troops being deployed on the ground. However, several cabinet sources told the paper that they do not see a difference between sending Irish soldiers to Ukraine and to Lebanon, where more than 300 troops are currently stationed. The government also published its spring legislative programme yesterday, which includes measures to remove the UN veto on Irish troops being deployed overseas. What do you think about this sort of move? Is it something that would be a threat or compromising our neutrality? This would be as part of any deal. The Russians don't want NATO-flagged NATO member countries in there, so Irish could go in there presumably under the UN flag. I presume that's what they're suggesting here. Is that something that you would be okay with? Maybe you are the wife of a soldier, or you have someone serving in the army. The reason I phrase it like that is because soldiers are sort of excluded from commenting on these matters, but they're still welcome to text us. But the government clearing the way for Irish soldiers to be deployed as peacekeepers in Ukraine, that should be if peace breaks out. Former TD and Army Ranger Cathal Berry said he believes it's highly likely Irish troops would be deployed in certain circumstances. Right, back to the Irish Daily Star, or onto the Irish Daily Star, I should say. And Justice Minister Jim O'Callaghan said the laws around international protection applicants will change, as he insisted many people subject to deportation issues leave voluntarily, that old chestnut. During an interview on Virgin Media, he said the voluntary return system is very efficient. In 2024, 2,400 deportation orders were issued. Of these, 1,116 left the country through either voluntary or enforced deportation, and 950 have voluntarily left. The Justice Minister also stated asylum applications need to be processed more quickly. Mr O'Callaghan said the majority of appeals don't succeed. But the point I'm emphasising is that we need to recognise that too many people are coming in claiming asylum when they're not entitled to asylum. But what are you going to do about it? On to the Irish Daily Mirror now, and a man appeared in court yesterday charged with assaulting fatal stabbing victim Kwame Babatunde, and another man, Jeffrey Bangu, 21, was brought to Dublin District Court accused of Section 3 assault causing harm to the deceased at Duke Lane in the city in the early hours of Saturday. Unfortunately, the way things are now, or fortunately, I don't know, in terms of public awareness, videos of this incident were released, and it was shocking to see the type of behaviour that's ongoing. He's further accused, by the way, this is Bangu, further accused of Section 3 assault causing harm on another man at Southend Street in Dublin on the same date. Bangu of Cardi Rock Crescent in Balbriggan, Dublin, is also accused of violent disorder in that in the course of a fight he allegedly produced a knife. The defendant is additionally charged with violent disorder on South Ann Street against persons unknown, in that he's accused of using or threatening to use unlawful violence. Giving evidence of arrest, charge and caution, Garda David Dolan of Pearse Street Station said Bangu made no reply to all charges after caution. The officer told the court Gardaí would make strenuous objections to bail. A defence solicitor said his client would not be making a bail application at this time. Mr. Babatunde, who was 34, an asylum seeker from Nigeria, was stabbed to death on South Ann Street at around 3 a.m. last Saturday. So there's a bit of background to that story too. That's been published widely on social media. On to the Sun, or finally to the Sun now. This is hopefully some encouraging news and an indication of how far science is progressing. I think for an awful lot of people, the lived experience is losing their sight and overcoming that, but a lot of people are fearful of it as well. But an Irish patient who was blind for 13 years has had his sight restored after undergoing revolutionary new gene therapy. Medics at Dublin's Mater Hospital administered the groundbreaking ocular treatment on Stuart Haxel, 31, from Sligo. The gene therapy, which received approval for reimbursement in Ireland last year, has the potential to restore retinal function and vision in patients with inherited retinal dystrophies. Mr. Haxel is functionally blind and has only been able to see a certain amount of light for over a decade. He received the first Luxturna treatment in Ireland in November at the Mater Hospital under the care of Professor David Keegan, a consultant ophthalmic surgeon, and now he has his vision somewhat restored, which, as I say, is remarkable, and hopefully for people who may have lost their sight for those reasons, that might offer a little bit of hope. Okay, that was a run through some of the stories in the papers. Today we'll be back making our own headlines after we take a quick break.
Courtesy of Cosgrove, Centra and Diner, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
The infection felt terrible. I just wasn't getting better. I was breathing fast and I felt confused. I had shivers and pain through my body. I was drinking water, but I wasn't peeing. I felt like I was going to die. In the hospital, they said I had sepsis. And it's urgent.
Sepsis can hide behind any infection at any age, so watch out for the signs. Visit hse.ie/sepsis for more information. And don't be afraid to ask the question, could it be sepsis? From the HSE.
Ní aon tú nómid dit féin agus do bhaig bre. Dénig tú gachród is féidir chun aróthúirt ó danmhathe agus chun a chin tú go dúchaigh siad sláán. Ach, an bhfuil a góhan á dhéanamh agat chun a chin tú go dúchaigh tú féin sláán as. Bí san ardal gcónaí timpeall beosteach agus cynnig sábháilte ar an téasúr brethe seo. Fai tuile eolais ag hsa.ie/farm safety. Arnahort cuat ag rialtas na hÉireann.
Are you looking for a powerful, high-performance laptop? Think green and save big with Ben Sweeney Euronics. Discover refurbished Lenovo ThinkPads that look and feel like new with Windows 11 pre-installed and a rock-solid 3-year warranty for total peace of mind. Why pay full price when you can save up to 70% and do your part for the planet by choosing sustainable tech? Find yours today at Ben Sweeney Euronics, Port Road, Letterkenny, and the shopping centre, Dunlow.
Right now, at B&Q, painting just got cheaper. Save big on brands like Dulux and Lick. With incredible savings across selected interior paint, you can transform your space for less. Shop in-store or online at DIY.ie. Hurry, ends 3rd of March. You can do it when you B&Q it. Subject to availability. See DIY.ie for details.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
Okay, the time now is 18 minutes past 9. Now, we are going to be discussing Little Angels School and access to it, and we have a number of guests To that end, I want to say good morning first to Patricia, who emailed us in. Hi, Patricia. How are you keeping this morning?
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
I'm doing good. Right, so tell us your story and that of your child, I suppose, as well.
Yeah, our wee man is Ben. He is 4 years old. As a baby, I suppose his history is he was slow to meet his developmental milestones. Back in 2021, we referred him on for an assessment of needs. 2022, we went down the private assessment route in order to get him an appropriate preschool placement. He is diagnosed with autism. He has queried ADHD as well. We haven't been able to get that diagnosed due to a lack of acceptance from CAMHS at the minute. And back in 2024, we got a cognitive assessment done with a view to accessing a special school. Ben is non-speaking, so I suppose myself, my husband and his siblings, we are Ben's voice. And to be honest, we're just exhausted from fighting the services. Resulting on from all of these assessments, all of the diagnosing professionals felt that Ben needed a special school placement, and Little Angels is the only school of that type in our county to cater for his needs.
Now, in relation to the school, it's a multi-denominational school which caters for students from all over Donegal. Quite a bit of investment has gone in there, and we heard it raised in the Dáil yesterday by Pierce Doherty that it was expanding, and we knew that in any case. With that in mind, did you believe that you would be successful in securing a place? Had that given you hope?
Greg, we've been looking up the research on that over the weekend, and in 21 it was announced that they needed a new build and that it had been approved, and it was greatly welcomed because they had stated that the old premises wasn't suitable for the growing numbers. But here we are in 2025, and it hasn't the capacity to accommodate the demand today. And I suppose we have questions as parents, like when it was recognised that 3 classes were needed to be used in a neighbouring school, why did nobody plan to put in place an expansion for this school? Why is it like a proactive, reactive approach as opposed to a proactive approach? We were fairly confident that he was going to get a place and get the supports that he so desperately needs. And here we are now with no place for September.
It's only recently that you were informed that there was no space for him, even though he met all the criteria.
Yeah, look, we put in our application in a timely manner. He met the criteria. Unfortunately, there on Friday, myself, along with what I think is 7 other parents, were given a reason just of oversubscription, is what it's called, so that there's no place for him in the school. He met the criteria needed, but there's no place for him in the school, and he's currently 3rd on the waiting list. And Greg, we are heartbroken with this decision. Like, we're absolutely devastated as a family.
Yeah. Because it's very challenging, as is not just for everyone, the entire family. Everything has to change, doesn't it? And you talked about those missed milestones and the hope that getting into an educational settings like this, that you could have the joy of, maybe him achieving some of those milestones.
Yeah, I suppose professionally I'm an intellectual disability nurse, so I'm more than aware than anybody that the earlier interventions lead to better outcomes. I don't want our wee man missing out on skills that he could have gained, had he been in the appropriate setting and had he have been supported. And also all the hard work that's been done with him in the early intervention play school, that could be done in months at home. And if he is to stay at home for months, we'll undoubtedly see a regression because he won't have the supports that he so desperately needs.
It does beg the question, given the fact that this is the only facility of its kind in the county, and we are pretty conscious of the level of demand, why we've invested in a facility, and this is only about the facility, not the staff who work very hard there, of course, why we've invested in a facility that before it's really even formally opened, we are already dealing with families who are being left out, and how deeply that decision sort of runs through the family.
It devastates the family, Greg. Like, my child, our son, he has a fundamental right to education. He's as entitled to start school in September as what his peers were. His neurotypical peers will go on and get school places, but it just feels like he's been left behind, that he's not getting the same opportunities. It feels nearly like there's no value placed in our son, that, okay, there's no place for him, so he's not entitled to an education due to his diagnosis. That's, as his parents, that's what we feel like.
And there's also what now though? What does this mean? Because you've been told now September's quite some time away. You've already been told there is no space. You're on a waiting list, yes, but well, what do you do? What does this actually mean? Obviously, we understand that your son should have a right to an education. We understand that maybe he won't get the level of education that would give him the best chance into the future, which is what we all want from our children. But what do you do now? What are you going to do?
I suppose as a family we've discussed this over and over. As I said, the diagnosing professionals felt that he needed a special school placement, and Greg, that's not a decision, that we came to overnight. We took months to make that decision. We took a while to make peace with that decision too. I could apply to an ASD class attached onto school. However, it's worth noting that every local school in our area is also full, but that's not what Ben needs. They wouldn't be able to fully cater for his needs, so I can't set him up for a fall this early on in his life. So it basically means I get a place in Little Angels, he gets a place along with these 6 other kids that I'm aware of, or we keep him at home.
All right.
We keep him at home for a year and reapply next year and hope that this problem has been sorted.
Yes,
I listened to the all discussion last night.
I can even tell in your tone of voice, hope, realistically, is something going to change drastically over the next, year and a half, the next 2 school terms?
Yeah, I listened to the Dáil discussion last night. I listened to Minister McEntee and listened to Minister Moynihan. And, it sounded very positive what they were planning to deliver, but their timeline was very vague. And it left me wondering, how do they plan to meet my son's needs? Why can they not grant modular schools around modular classes around this new building and, basically take the children that so desperately need the place and the supports, take them in? Like, he did state that he was confident, Mr. Moynihan, that the capacity required will be provided, but how does he intend to do that for September?
I'm not overly familiar with stuff, like building and engineering, all that type of stuff. But that site seems pretty packed to me. It backs up onto a road, and I don't see really. They seem to have invested on a site that seems to, unless I'm missing something already, be at capacity, which is really quite bizarre use of public funding.
Yeah, Greg, I don't know where. I suppose to Minister Moynihan and Minister McEntee, our wee man's just a number, but us, he's our whole world. We aren't asking for special treatment. We're just looking for his fundamental right to an education in a setting, I suppose, that can cater for his needs, somewhere that he'll be welcome, somewhere he'll flourish, and somewhere he'll be supported to reach his full potential.
All right, okay. Well, Patricia, I assure you this is something we're going to stay very focused on this programme for what that matters. Hopefully it could make an impact. But for now, thanks very much and love to all.
Greg, just one last word as well. Just, as parents, we've never heard Ben's first word. I said he's pre-verbal. We've never heard him call us mammy, or we've never heard him call us daddy, and now a failure to prepare from the government. Now we're going to miss his first day at school too. We take every wee milestone and every wee thing we reach as a celebration, and it just feels like we're going to be us, and we're missing out so much. He's going to miss out on so much, due to his diagnosis, and it's just, education is a right these days, not a privilege.
Yeah, okay. Thanks very much for that, Patricia. Just for those of you outside the area, Little Angels School, as I mentioned, it caters for students from all over Donegal with moderate, severe or profound learning difficulties and students with autism. The new school had 19 classes in place. They've converted a number of other rooms to bring that capacity up to 23 classes, but clearly that's still not enough. My understanding the max in a class is 6. There has to be a ratio of 6-1. That's the max capacity there, so you can do the maths. My understanding is that the sense is the department has not done, should have done more years ago, and that prefabs are needed, sourcing and planning is needed, and of course that takes time. So if there is going to be increased capacity, that all sort of needs to happen now. And those parents that are being told there's no space for them, some of the language I've seen is like around denial and refusal, but it's simply a case that places do not exist. Another person affected by this is Sinead. Sinead, you're listening to Patricia there, and I'm sure there's quite an overlap in, your feelings and what we've heard from our first caller.
Yes, good morning, Greg.
Can we hear about your daughter and your situation, just so we can get a better understanding of the real impact on a real person?
My daughter attends a profound and special needs class in Dunlow. When she started in this class, we were told she'd be there till she'd be 18. She moved into a new classroom in September, and then in November, out of the blue, we were told she'd have to move to a post-primary setting, which is no way suitable for her and her needs.
And you know that as a parent too, I presume, and you have the assessments to back you up. Has that happened yet, or have you been told that is to happen?
We're told it is to happen, but as far as I'm aware, the room isn't even ready in the post-primary school. But we're told from June there's going to be no space in her current setting.
You also get the sense that your daughter is being treated as just a number.
Definitely, yeah. They're not taking into consideration at all what we're telling them about her personally. They're fixated on just a classroom. They have a new classroom, that she's better off with children of her age. But my daughter wouldn't be on that level. She has severe global developmental delay. She's more maybe the mind of a 4 or 5 year old. So 13 is just a number to her.
So you're in the position where your child currently is in what you see as a good
Yes.
setting, and she's being offered something else.
Yes, but I would love to see her moving on to be with children her own age, but it is just not suitable for her, unfortunately.
Mm. And what options have you been given? Is it just that one option or a series of options?
No, we were told she could go to Little Angel School, but that's like a 50-minute journey each way for her to go every day. She takes seizures, and when she takes a seizure, she can aspirate. So that is so dangerous. So that journey is just not suitable for her.
Yes.
And the other option then was to homeschool, which is that's no good either.
I understand.
She needs to be out, in a social setting.
Okay, stay with us. I'll get back to you. We'll get back to you in relation to that as we get some answers to those questions. Thanks very much for that. I'm joined on the programme by Minister of State for Special Education, Michael Moynihan, TD, a Fianna Fáil TD. In fact, good morning, Michael, or good morning, Deputy. Thank you very much, or Minister, in fact. Thank you very much for your time. Minister, can you hear me? I wonder, can he? He can't. Okay. I'll tell you, I'll take a quick break. We'll be back with more on this issue because we have another parent also to speak to in just a couple of moments.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Whether they're on holiday, watching TV, eating a family meal.
Put it down.
It seems teenagers just refuse to put down their phones. But help is at hand.
Because Fundamania is in Derry.
Real thrills, real fun, outside in the fresh air.
Fundamania Derry at the Brunswick Movie Bowl from February 28th to March 17th.
Choose regular, junior or family wristbands. Turn screen time into scream time. Details at fundamania.co.uk.
Fabric World Maydown Derry biggest ever winter sale now on trend and in stock curtain and upholstery fabrics all on sale. Over 3,000 metres now half price or less. Free curtain design ready-made curtains up to half price and lining from £1 with fabulous rates on the Euro in store at Fabric World Maydown Derry.
Do you suffer from high cholesterol, menopause symptoms, digestive issues, anxiety, aches and pains, or a lack of energy? The highly trained team at The Natural Way Letterkenny can provide advice on natural remedies for a number of individual health issues. The Natural Way also has its own brand of herbal treatments to help fight fatigue, relieve digestive discomfort, maintain a healthy immune system and alleviate common menopause symptoms. The Natural Way at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, your one-stop health shop.
For strong, unique, weather-resistant homes, choose Seadrill Exteriors. Our fibre cement roof slates and wall cladding ranges are built to last for generations, exceeding EU quality standards. Members of Guaranteed Irish, our products are locally made and beautifully designed, offering long-term peace of mind. Visit Seadrill.ie. Seadrill Exteriors. Strength guaranteed.
Bargain Homewares, Lower Main Street, Letterkenny. Closing down sale. Everything must go. Huge discounts on all remaining stock. Don't miss out. Grab incredible deals before they're gone at Bargain Homewares, Lower Main Street, Letterkenny.
Coming to the Inishowen Gateway Hotel March 28th, the hilarious comedy duo The Three Bucks. From the RTE hit show The Hardy Bucks. Tickets are €20 available at the Inishowen Gateway Hotel website. With a warm-up act and live music after the show, this is not to be missed.
Okay, I think we can say good morning now to Minister of State for Special Education, Deputy Michael Moynihan. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us. So we're hearing this morning from parents with various issues, but we'll start first with the situation at Little Angel School in Letterkenny. As you know, it's the only facility in the entire county to be able to accommodate moderate children with moderate, severe or profound learning disabilities and students with autism. A lot of money's been invested in it, and parents are being told now that there's no capacity for their students in September. It's very, very difficult for these families. What do you have to say to them?
Well, it is very difficult, and families with children with additional needs, to try and make sure that they have a place in September, it is the most challenging. And in my time as a public representative, I've met many families across the country, and particularly over the last 5 years as chair of the Disability Committee. But I was listening to your earlier contributions and the challenges that are there. I suppose the school in Little Angels is a new school that has been developed over the last number of years with the Department of Education and the local input. And now we're at a juncture where families have been told on Friday that they don't have a place. This is very worrying. This is very challenging. And this is something that I would hope to investigate more with. I will be raising the issues with the NCSE, who are the body that are charged with it by the Department of Education. I will be meeting them this afternoon. I don't intend to give any guarantees here this morning. All I can say is that I understand their plight, and as I will work with the Department of Education and the statutory authorities to try and find solutions, because we have to be
What do you believe some of those solutions may be that could offer some hope to parents?
Well, there's no point in I coming on giving false hope on your radio show this morning. We must make sure that we do find solutions in it. I know that the NCSE are working with a number of schools for special classes attached to primary schools in Donegal. I know that there's 2 extra schools have signed up to it this year, and that there's 6 letters have gone out from the department and the NCSE to open additional classrooms, so that there is work going on. And even over the last number of years, I think that the funding or the places for special classes in Donegal have increased by 54%. So there's a lot of work after going on over the last 3 or 4 years.
That is fine, and I understand the political approach, Minister, whereby you talk about what's being done, right? I speak to parents who actually those words are going to sound like gaslighting, okay? Because their kids are not getting their first day at school. So they're not impacted by the positive work that's being done. And those that are, I'm sure, very much welcome it. We are awash with money, apparently, in this country. Why can you not put pressure on the Department of Education or whomever is responsible to fund prefabs, additional capacity at Little Angels schools, fast track it, say this is a disgrace, we're letting down the most vulnerable in our society, we're not treating our children early enough, I'm new into this job, I'm not accepting it, you need to get some prefabs, additional accommodation up on that site, because this is a disgrace. That's the kind of leadership these parents need, Minister, with respect.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. I suppose just may I develop one point, right? In 2025 and coming towards the end of February of 2025, when parents across the country don't know where their children are going to be on the 1st of September, that is not acceptable. It is simply not acceptable. And it's something I have said continuously since I got this job 3 weeks ago, and again last night, that we have to develop in a timely fashion. We have to understand the huge challenges that parents are under. And I understand that more than most what they are facing. And you made the point, okay, we have to deal with, I will be talking to the department, and I have constantly over the last 3 weeks spoken to the department about making sure that families and parents are not in this position, that they are informed in a timely fashion. There's a lot of work has gone on. Yes, I accept that is very little, very little told the families who have no place. And I understand that. But I will be talking to the NCSE this afternoon. I will be asking for a full breakdown on what are the challenges for the specific children that have got refusals this week. And we will be trying with the NCSE and the Department of Education to find a resolution for those children, for those families and for those communities.
Okay, so what might that look like? Expanding capacity at Little Angel schools, additional special classes? What might this look like?
To be fair now, there isn't much point in I coming on your radio show and saying I am going to give a guarantee that this is going to be the solution. That's not what I'm about. That's not the modus operandi that I want to have. I want to make sure that I understand exactly what the challenges are in Donegal. We will have a meeting this afternoon, and we will try and find solutions, because everything has to be on the table to make sure that there is proper school places for everybody in Donegal come the 1st of September of 2025. Appropriate places for children that have additional needs.
So are you hopeful or optimistic that accommodation can be found for these children before September?
Well, it is, the state is duty bound, and the institutions of the state, the Department of Education, I as Minister for Special Education, and the NCC are duty bound to ensure we have places for all the children, but particularly for the most vulnerable, for children who have complex needs, who have complex medical needs, and who have autism and challenging behaviour. It is the role of my role as Minister in that department now, and also the NCSE and the Department of Education, to find resolutions with all the stakeholders, with the families, with the school authorities, and with the communities, to find a meaningful resolution of the challenges that are there. And I've no doubt that they are across the country, because a lot of parents have been in contact with me, and I know a lot of parents over the last number of years myself personally that have been in contact with me right across the country, and their concerns are in relation to particularly going from the preschool to the primary school, and from the primary school to the post-primary school. And a lot of children would have very complex medical needs and would be in school places already, and would want to stay there for another year or two. They are some things that we have to give consideration to. We have to take the individual cases on their merits and try and find reasonable resolutions for them.
Do you believe questions need to be asked as to how so much money was invested into a facility that clearly was based on outdated numbers, because it has yet to fully open and is lacking enough capacity? Do you think, considering that was public money that was being spent, that we need to examine as to how that was allowed happen?
Well, first of all, I welcome the opening of it in the first instance, right? That it is a brand new facility and it is coming on stream there. And I welcome that in the first instance. But we have, the data that we are collecting, the data that we are for the future proofing of our country in terms of special education and indeed complex education, I think that we have to go back and make sure that we are getting the information very early on in the children's lives. I think that there's an awful lot of children that are availing of the AIMS program in the preschool, and that data should be shared with the Department of Education, that should be shared, and we should be collecting that data at an earlier date to make sure that we understand as a state and as a country what the challenges are.
And are you going to make that happen? Are you going to make that happen?
That is one of the priorities. That is one of the priorities. We spoke at a number of our meetings with the NCSE and the department. That is one of the issues that I want to make sure that the information is made available at the earliest possible date, that we are future-proofing. A number of special schools have opened over the years, and some of them were future-proofed at the time of their opening, that they were building with in excess of 50% capacity because of the need that were there, and they're now full. There is no doubt that we need extra special schools in this country. It is something that I would be making sure that we have extra special schools, because the demand is there, and we also have, we're opening 400 special classes right across the country this year for the 1st of September 2025. And I suppose if the collection of information, because we cannot, if we don't have the correct data, we won't have the proper facilities in place, also to ensure that parents and families and children with additional needs in a timely manner, and I would like to see it in the before Christmas of they starting either primary school or post-primary education, that they understand where they're going and what they're doing. Because I have met children and families at school gates when they're finishing on the last week of June, not knowing where they're going in September, and that is extremely challenging for those families.
I understand that, and I think, Minister, it's great that you recognise the issues and you seem as vexed and outraged as the parents affected, but I think they look towards you as a person in a position of power to actually fix it, to change what's already there. Would you recognise the issue that many teachers are outlining to us in mainstream schools, that they're experiencing major challenges in in gaining the needed therapeutical services that their students actually need. So when children are placed in that environment, that the schools are properly resourced to best educate and care for the children.
Yeah, in special schools, right? We hope that the program for government states that we will be bringing therapies back into special schools. I think that is the place for therapies, for all the therapies in special schools. But across the, from both families and from school authorities and from teachers and SNAs who I have been speaking to long before I got this job 3 weeks ago, but they have saying that they need greater supports to make sure that they are empowered or have the best possible tools to ensure that children have a greater experience in schools. There's a lot of work to be done on that, but there's an awful lot of work going on. The budget has increased over 50% over the last 4 or 5 years. It still is not enough, and we have challenges right across the country. And in my role, I would be hoping that I will work day and night to try and make sure that there are changes affected, and that we are, as the next year and the next school year go, that there is families, as your radio station have identified, will not be in the same position going into the end of February, not knowing where their children are going in September. It simply isn't good enough in Ireland of 2025. And that is something that I care deeply about, that I understand extremely well, and that I want to affect change. And I want to make a timely enrolment. I want to ensure that there are more special schools in the country, more special schools. And I think that in some instances where they're talking about special schools, a number of them are greater than one single entity.
Is this what, just to be clear, is this what your opinion, or is this policy as it relates to special schools, special classes? Because I kind of want to be focused on where we are actually going, not what you would like or hope. And I mean that with absolute respect, Minister. I hope you understand that. But what is the actual policy? What's the policy? What's going to happen over the next, in the coming months?
So the policy is to make sure that there is greater timelines for enrolment and greater timelines to ensure that families know where their children are going to school in September. This government has taken on the issue of disabilities more than most. There's a special unit going to be set up in the Department of Taoiseach with collaboration between the Department of Education, the Department of Disability, the Department of Health and the Department of Social Protection, to ensure that people with disabilities and the challenges that are being faced by families with disabilities are to the forefront. And we have to make change in that, because in any of the senses
but at the moment we are maintaining having special classes in mainstream schools, right? That's not going to change in the short term, I imagine. What are you going to do to ensure that the proper services, you might not think it's the ideal way of doing it, right? But what are you going to do to ensure that the services that are required for children in these special classes are available? Because it's not just the parents and the students. Obviously, the teachers are very... So is there a plan to address... Do you recognise that's an issue, A? And B, what is the plan to resolve that issue?
Well, first, there is an issue in it, but just to go back to the special classes in mainstream schools, the school communities across the length and the breadth of the country are doing fantastic work in those schools. Fantastic work. The teachers, the leadership, the SNAs are doing work on it. Yes, there are shortcomings in relation to the resources that they're there. There are some things we want to look at. First of all, the therapists within the special schools is one of the first things. It's in the programme for government, and we will be working with the relevant departments to ensure that. Now, the therapists...
Sorry, you're going to be working with the relative departments to ensure what?
That therapists are within the special schools. We also have to recruit more and more therapists.
How are you going to do that?
Because we need extra places in the colleges, in the third level colleges, to ensure that there is
So that
greater...
is clearly a 3, 4, 5 year plan. What are you going to do in the next...
unless we train them, and unless we acknowledge that there's a challenge in relation to recruitment and retention, whether they're actually training people with occupational therapy, speech and language therapy, or physiotherapy. We can be talking all we like. We have to build the bricks. We have to build the bricks in relation to the shortcomings that are there within the services. And this is multifaceted. There's a huge amount of work that needs to be done and a huge amount of work that has been done. But at the outset, you were talking about, yes, we talk about the work that has been done, but I want to make sure that we bring new energy to it, we bring new dynamic into it, and try and ensure that the challenges, we face the challenges head on, we acknowledge the challenges that are head on, and that we try and make sure that we put in place, that we will put in place measures to ensure that the challenges that are there are being met and that the needs are being met.
Finally, then, what is your commitment as much as you can to the families of the children that have been told in February there's no space for them in September? What is your commitment as much as you can give it to them?
Yeah, I will work very closely with the Department of Education, I as the Minister for Special Education, and the NCAC to try and resolve those issues. We have a number of issues, and the public representatives in Donegal, Patrick Cope Gallagher, Charlie McConnell and Kieran Brogan have been on to me on numerous occasions in relation to these issues, and I will be working with all the relevant bodies to try and find a resolution in a timely fashion. It is important to understand and acknowledge that I know the challenges they're facing, and we will be doing everything we can to find a reasonable resolution for every family.
All right, thank you for your time. That's Minister Michael Moynihan. Another parent, Aoife, has been sitting with me listening. Good morning to you, Aoife. Thanks for calling over. I know you're up to your ears, and sorry for holding you, but it's just to get access to the Minister there. You've a wee boy was due to start in September. You've been told there's no place. How does that make you feel?
I suppose I'm just a little bit disheartened because I had the concern that I did hear on the ground that Little Angels, even their new building, was 2 classrooms short. I think we kind of knew that anyway for the last few months. So I did meet with Little Angels in September, and I voiced that concern because unfortunately my little boy has a profound need. Like, he'll be wheelchair, so he'll be in one of the special classes. Well, I had hoped. So I had met with Alva herself, and I expressed my concerns that he wouldn't get a space. But I came away from that meeting quite positive, thinking he would. But yet here we are today, that I found out on Friday that he didn't get a space, unfortunately. So
you had a hope, so that come completely out of the blue. It makes it actually even worse, really,
Yeah.
that you weren't potentially expecting that.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean as a parent, or for your son, or?
I suppose.
Just want to give us all an insight into how this impacts real people.
Yeah. So Casey, Casey has a really rare genetic disorder, which obviously makes him globally delayed, and he would be kind of in the body of like a 9-month-old baby. So he wasn't able to even go to preschool. Like, he wasn't able to have the aims as was highlighted in preschool. So he did attend Baladerg here for a few months, but unfortunately Casey suffers from hypertonic. He's quite high tone, and travelling for him is really, really hard. So that journey, unfortunately, was too much on him, so we had to take him back into the house. So he's been in the house. So he's been denied his preschool space because we didn't have anything local. Obviously, we're from Donegal town. So we don't have any local preschool over there, specialised preschool, because obviously Casey has to be in a specialised preschool and school. And like that, yesterday when I had the meeting with CDNT, they said maybe he could go into like a specialised class in a national school, and I was like, no, he cannot, because he will not be getting the care that he needs.
Does it worry you when that's an option that's put on the table? As someone with the knowledge of your child that you have?
Yeah, because when Casey was coming up to the preschool age, I work in obviously in early years, so I kind of have a little bit of background to that. But when I met with CDNT and they had highlighted that he could avail of aims within a preschool setting, I was like, no, he can't, because the aims, the aim ethos is that it's inclusion, that they're included into a room. It's not a one-on-one basis. And unfortunately, Casey does need that one-on-one. Back then, 2 years ago, he definitely needed one-on-one care. And he definitely would need one-on-one care now still going into school. And unfortunately that has been taken away from him again, like his right to an education. So yeah.
It's very difficult as a parent, you know, because we do be so proud when we see certain things, and when things aren't going well, we feel them so deeply as well. And that's the point I was trying to emphasise to the Minister here, that, you know, the rhetoric that we hear, and no criticism, but the rhetoric we hear about we're doing well, we're doing this, we're doing that and the other, that doesn't mean anything. You heard the Minister there. Was there anything in what he had said that gave you any hope?
Yeah, I definitely think that I think the new school is amazing, and I was so excited to think that Casey would even be able to avail of like top-notch equipment and everything like that there. But they had to know that, like, they knew it was on the ground. There was word in Letterkenny that they were 2 classrooms short, so they knew even before now that they were going to be short, that they were going to be over.
Are you on about short of the 19 or the 23? Because
shorter than the 23, they were going to, they were still going to be 2 classrooms short.
In terms of what's required, given the 6-to-1 ratio, what was required for the students that are available?
Yeah. And then obviously,
but I mean, obviously, the management have only what they have to work with.
100%. It's not because it's not Alva and all them are amazing. It's not them, but it's the politics behind it. Like, they didn't look at the correct data. Like he said, that we'll look at the AIM, the numbers of AIM. That's 100% fine. You can look at the amount of kids that are under AIM, but some of those kids can be put into mainstream ASD units or into the specialised classes. But what about the kids that are sitting at home that weren't able to avail of those things? Are
they counted and accommodated?
Yeah, so how are those going to be accounted? But I just sit here and I think, how have we found ourselves that we're in a crisis now? What did you do to prevent that?
Well, I think you've just figured out why maybe your son's not counted.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we just discovered that, didn't we?
100%.
Okay. Listen, Aoife, I'm sorry that I held you so long and then you come over, but I just wanted to hear about your situation and your boy's situation. Do you believe, having listened to the Minister, is there anyone who will work directly with you to try and get a space, or how does that work?
I don't know, and I do sit back and I was thinking how... Like, I still have such hope that he will, like, he has a right, so it's not, like, I'm not going to let this lie down. Like, they are going to have to find him a space. How they're going to do that, that's up to them. But I'm not willing for them to come back to me and say, we're going to give you 20 hours of home tuition. He's not going to stay at home because he has a right to be in a school. I need him to be in a social setting with kids like him.
And you need to. He doesn't have the voice you need to be his voice to make sure he's treated equally.
I am his advocate at the end of the day.
Aoife, listen, I want to stay in touch with all of you, on this, because it's February now. Let's see what's achieved by September and in what amount of time. So we're not going to go away in relation to this issue. I appreciate your time, Aoife. We'll be back with the weather after these.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Shannon Airport has officially been voted Ireland's favourite airport.
Which was great to hear. Mind you, we've actually always thought we had handy parking, famously short queues, a great bunch of people, seamless security, and a list of amazing destinations to fly to. So really, it's just nice to know everybody else agrees. Officially Ireland's favourite airport. You can't really argue with that. Shannon Airport. Making it easy.
The speed limit on many rural local roads has been reduced from 80 to 60 kilometres per hour. As speed contributes to a third of fatal collisions, this greatly reduces the risk of death and keeps everyone on the roads safer. Your local authority has implemented the 80 to 60 kilometre reduction on your road network. Slower speeds, safer roads. Visit gov.ie/speed limits. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Landlords, did you know that by law, you must register your tenancy annually with the Residential Tenancies Board? For rental properties in a rent pressure zone, there are also specific rules to follow when setting and increasing rent. For information and resources to help you comply with rental laws and to avoid penalties, visit rtb.ie today. Brought to you by the Residential Tenancies Board.
This is an important message for all drivers. From March 31st, the law is changing. When you renew or take out motor insurance, you'll need to provide your driver number. It's on your driving licence, listed under point 4D, so make sure you have it to hand. Without your driver number, you won't get insured. Double check that you have your licence, and if you can't find it, take steps to have a valid licence in time for your insurance renewal date. This message is brought to you by Insurance Ireland and the Motor Insurers Bureau of Ireland in support of a Government of Ireland initiative.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Our new season special occasion wear range is here. Visit us to explore our extensive dress collection in store or shop online at mcelhennys.com today.
Okay, rain will clear northwards through the morning with sunny spells developing and southerly winds easing. Temperatures today 9 to 11 degrees. We'll be back with more after the news and obituary notices.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
Join me, Marty Friel, this and every Friday night from 8 for Rocking Hits on Highland Radio in association with Arena 7 Letterkenny. If you're celebrating a birthday or a work night out, Arena 7 Entertainment Complex has it all. Check out arena7.ie.
Being a Garda will change your life. A few years ago, I attended a sudden death incident and had to work with the victim's wife and child. It was traumatic for the family, but you just absorb the trauma yourself. You stay strong so they don't have to. They had no family in Ireland, so when the boy's birthday came around, I organised for Gardaí, Coast Guard and the Fire Service to drive along the coast where he lived to show that we were all thinking of him in what was a really difficult time. I work in a close-knit community and we look after each other, uniform or not. His birthday matters to me as much as my own. Being a Garda is a really tough job, but it is definitely a job worth doing. You can apply now at publicjobs.ie.
Winter sale now on at Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, Donegal Town. Amazing prices on made-to-order kitchens, sliding wardrobes and much more. Don't miss your chance to transform your home at unbeatable prices. Book your appointment today at cherrymore.ie or call 07497 25822. Cherrymore, 28 years of adding quality and value to your home.
With 2025 in full swing, it's time to buy a brand new Kia at iMotors. Come down for a test drive and check out all the new models in stock. Diesel, hybrid and fully electric, including the all-new Kia EV3, which supports ultra-fast charging, allowing you to charge up to 80% in just 30 minutes with a fast charger. There's 0% finance on all EVs, plus the Sportage and Nero PHEV. All Kia cars come with a 7-year warranty and all trade-ins are welcome. Visit iMotors in Donegal to test drive the very latest from Kia today.
iMotors, fearless generation.
Hi, it's Marty Morrissey here. The Marty Party is heading to Calpe in Spain from October 2nd to October 9th. We have an amazing lineup. The Tumbling Paddies, Sean Kane, Tommy Fleming, Honor, Liam O'Connor, Cherish the Ladies, the Galway Tenors and many more. Book your tickets now online, www.galestertravel.com or call Deirdre at 087 68 93 519. Come on for the music and the crack.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. The Junior Minister with responsibility for special education and inclusion is to hold a series of meetings to discuss Little Angel School in Letterkenny. Last night in the Dáil, Donegal Deputy Pearse Doherty said the new school is too small and some parents are being told there won't be a place for their child. A number of the parents have been telling their stories this morning on the 9 till noon show, and on the show a short time ago. Minister Michael Moynihan confirmed to Greg Hughes that he'll be meeting later today with the National Council for Special Education to discuss how to resolve the issue.
Little Angels is a new school. Now we're at a juncture where families have been told on Friday that they don't have a place. I will be raising the issues with the NCSE, who are the body that are charged with it by the Department of Education. I will be meeting them this afternoon. I don't intend to give any guarantees here this morning. All I can say is that I understand their plight, and as I will work with the Department of Education and the statutory authorities to try and find solutions.
Pupils of Gael School na Garda Mastery in Donegal Town are set to move into their new building on this coming Monday. Almost 2 years ago, the works were due to get underway when government decided to halt the construction in conjunction with 70 others across the country. The tender for the works was due to expire shortly. Phase 3 of construction to see a special education unit erected is expected to be completed for next year. Principal Ono Grado says the students are excited to move into the new build in just a few short days.
We had a pizza party for them, and it was very much excitement at the thought that
this would be their last day in these prefabricated classrooms, which were not fit for purpose. And I think they all left very, very excited, and in a sense of disbelief as well. Some of them were asking me, actually, is it actually happening? Are we actually moving across to the building?
And that was Unagrada, the principal of Gaelscoil na Gadamáistrí. The backlog in driving tests is causing problems for young people in Inishowen. Councillor Jack Murray says the peninsula has been without a designated tester for over 2 years. The Cathaoirleach says he's received an influx of complaints in recent weeks from young people who are finding it hard to secure employment or travel to their colleges as a result. He says he and Deputy Padraig McLaughlin will be engaging with the Minister for Transport in a bid to have local waiting lists expedited.
You know that when you get your learner permit, it's 6 months before you can even apply, but people are looking at another 6 months, sometimes even more, before they actually get their test. So that's a guts of a year from getting the learner permit until actually being qualified, and that's just not acceptable. Young people in particular, trying to make their start in life, getting to college, access employment, like a car is absolutely essential. So I do know that there is some extenuating circumstances, and that the storm had cancelled tests for 2 weeks. But it once again highlights the need that we need more testers across Donegal.
A Donegal senator is contesting the competition for Las Cathaoirleach of the Seanad today. Senator Eileen Flynn has put her name in the ring. If elected, she'd be the first female of an ethnic minority in such a position. However, Senator Flynn also says she believes her chances are slim because of the public nature of the vote. She believes the ballot should be done in secret so individuals don't feel compelled to vote within their parties.
I think it's important that people have the choice. It just makes it more fair, and I know with all my heart that, you know, I would get a good vote. I still may not do it, but I would get a good vote from Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil, and obviously Sinn Féin and the other parties as well. But it's unfortunate it's not a private vote.
An East Donegal councillor says legal advice is needed to clarify who's liable for overgrown trees along roadsides. Serious concerns are being raised over the dangers posed by fallen trees following the death of a 20-year-old man after a tree fell on his car during Storm Éowyn in Donegal. Councillor Patrick McGowan says it's vital that the council establish who has responsibility for maintaining trees on the roadside, and if it is individual landowners, then grant mechanisms must be found through which they can be helped do what's necessary.
I know it's very expensive now to remove a tree. You need to bring in the professionals, particularly if you're working along public roads and public areas. You just can't go and cut it down if the tree fell the wrong way. With insurance and everything else. So the sooner we find out who is responsible and then set up a mechanism to help them to deal with. I'm not proposing the extreme view that you cut every tree down in Ireland. That's not appropriate even for people to say that. You have to deal with the problem in a sensible manner.
Counterfeit £20 notes are in circulation in the Strabane and Derry areas. Members of the public and retailers are being advised to look out for a lack of 3D braille markings and the absence of watermarks when held against natural light. It's believed these notes do appear to pass the UV light tests. Any encounters with such notes should be immediately reported to police. Weather forecast: cloudy with outbreaks of rain at first. That rain will clear northwards over the course of the morning, with sunny spells developing. Southerly winds will ease. Highs today 9 to 11 degrees Celsius. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news headlines at 11 o'clock. Check all the day's news on our website, highlandradio.com. But for now, from the news team, good morning.
The obituary notices this Wednesday morning, February 19th. The death has taken place of John Mulholland of Cooladerry, Fanad, Donegal and also Belfast. John's funeral service will be held on Friday at 10:30 at O'Neill's Chapel of Rest, 98 Stewartstown Road, Belfast. Cremation service to follow at Roselawn Crematorium at 20 to 1. Donations in his memory can be made to the Abbeyfield Belfast Society. The death has taken place in North Carolina, USA, of Hugh Toland, formerly of Kerrykeele. Funeral arrangements later. The death has taken place of Annie May Hart, née Devine Roger, Corner House, Lifford and formerly of Glenmornan, reposing at her home from 4 o'clock this afternoon. Funeral leaving her home on Friday morning at 10:15 for Requiem Mass in St Patrick's Church, Murlog at 11 o'clock, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Family time please from 10 p.m. to 11 a.m. Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam. The death has taken place of Millicent Millie McKinley, formerly of 9 Myrtlefield Road, Kilfinnan. Everyone's welcome to call to her son Norman's home, 11 Arden Place, Woodburn, today from 2 p.m. until 4 p.m. and from 7 p.m. until 9 p.m. Funeral from there tomorrow at 11:30, followed by a service of thanksgiving for her life in St Peter's Parish Church, Coolmore Road at 12 noon, followed by burial in Ballyone Cemetery. Family flowers only. Donations if desired to St Peter's Parish Church or Dementia Northern Ireland. The death has taken place in her 107th year of Sarah Doherty Nee McFadden, Kinnalargy, Downings. Her remains are reposing at her residence today from 11 a.m. till 10 p.m. Funeral tomorrow going to the Church of St John the Baptist for Requiem Mass at 11 a.m, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. The death has occurred of Joseph Josie Victor Boyle Kilclooney, Beg Portnew, reposing at his residence. Funeral Mass tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. in St Connell's Church, Kilclooney, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family time please before the funeral. The death has occurred of Jin O'Donnell, Nee Brown, Dunmore Carrigans, reposing at her family home today from 12 noon until 10 p.m. Funeral leaving the family home tomorrow at 10 a.m, going to St Bathan's Church, St Johnston for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. Family time please before the funeral tomorrow. The death has taken place of Tricia Devine Nee Armstrong, 4 Rossgear Close, Lifford, formerly of London. Funeral leaving her home this afternoon at 1:30 for Requiem Mass in St Patrick's Church, Murlog at 2 o'clock. Cremation afterwards in Lakelands Crematorium. House is strictly private please. The Requiem Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Cervical Check provides free cervical screening for women aged 25 to 65. HPV cervical screening is one of the best ways to reduce your risk of developing cervical cancer in the future. If you're due your cervical screening, don't delay. Make an appointment today. For information and to check you're on the register, visit hsc.ie/cervical check or free phone 1-800 45 45 55. From the HSE.
Thank you so much for all of your comments coming in so far this morning. I believe we've kind of identified maybe 9 children and the families of those children were informed this month that there's no space for them in Little Angels, the new development there in September. Caller says, I have a 7-year-old son who's diagnosed with ASD nonverbal and a severe intellectual disability who was refused a placement in Little Angels last week as they are oversubscribed. It has been identified by professionals that my child needs further support and we've tried 3 years in a special unit and it no longer meets his needs. Why are the government failing these young vulnerable kids? Why is there no placement in this top-of-the-range new school? And why, for the first year ever, was Little Angels not able to expand to cater for these children? What's going to be the outcome to solve this? Marie says, I'm writing in regards to my son, Finn, not getting a school placement this year in Little Angels. Finn is 4 years old and has autism, non-verbal. He's currently in early intervention classroom in Termon the last 2 years. He got a psychological assessment done at the end of last year, which states he has moderate learning difficulties along with his autism and needs to go to a school like Little Angels in Letterkenny to meet his needs. It was upsetting on Friday getting told your child does not have a place in a school he needs to go to. I feel there needs to be more awareness around this matter and that every child deserves a place at a school it needs to attend. It's so upsetting for us as parents on what to do next and figure out what is best for our children. Well, trust me, we're going to stay on this issue with you as much as we can to try and get a resolution. Can anyone tell us what's happening to the current school that houses the students? Can the 2 schools not be kept open? That's actually an inquiry. That's a question we've actually put to people with some responsibility in that area. We'll try and get an answer to that. A caller says, don't forget the non-existent support for children with additional needs in after-school care. Their needs don't change at 3 p.m, but there's no additional supports available for them. And more coming in, and we will return to that issue. We've got more parents that we want to speak to, more comments that we want to get to. But we're going to take a break now, and we'll be joined very shortly by Colin Flynn to get an update on the current complex medical condition of the Pope.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Wednesday, the 19th of February. You're playing on the blue sheet for the Dilly prize of €400. The reference number is S18. It's game number 8. The numbers are 54, 1, 78, 57, 35, 64, 46, 65, 90, and finally 87. Phone your claim to 9104833 before midnight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Ah, that's the sound of Caller, of cosy movie nights in, shove over, of the post-match get the cold out of your showers, a fry-up on a Sunday morning. It's the sound of homes running on easy, efficient energy. And right now, homes not on the gas network can get a free boiler by switching from oil to Caller gas for their home energy and heating. So every day sounds a little more like this. Nice and toasty in here. Caller, the energy that connects us. Terms and conditions apply. See calorgas.ie for details.
Hey, see that road sign?
Which one?
That white one with the black circle and 5 diagonal lines in the middle.
Yeah?
What does that mean again?
It now means that you should drive 60 kilometres an hour or slower.
Ah, okay. This sign on local and rural roads means drive at 60 kilometres an hour or below, and always according to the road and weather conditions. A message from the Road Safety Authority. Visit rsa.ie.
It's the Highland Radio 35th Birthday Bash, and we are throwing one big party to celebrate. Join us for our birthday concert on Monday the 31st of March in the Mount Errigal Hotel with a huge lineup of stars, including Michael English, Jimmy Buckley, Patrick Feeney, Hugo Duncan, Claudia Buckley, Connell Gallen and me, David James, all accompanied by my new band. Tickets are only €30 and are on sale from the hotel reception and online at highlandradio.com and usual retail outlets. Overnight packages are also available. Let's celebrate 35 years of Highland Radio together with a special night of music.
The 9 till Noon Show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Okay, it's just turned 10:15. Welcome back to the show. We are joined now by Colin Flynn, Vatican correspondent at EWT News. Good morning, Colin. Thanks so much for your time.
Hey, Greg, good to talk to you, and a very good morning to you.
It's good to have you back on the show. We're speaking in the context of Pope Francis. He was admitted to hospital on Friday, and it's been an evolving story, hasn't it? What have we learned over the last number of days about the Pope's condition?
Yeah, it's been changing every day as we get updates from the Vatican. Now, the first thing I have to preface our conversation with is that it's the updates that we do get from the Vatican can be very short. It can be hard to read into actually what is going on or what they're saying. But here's what we do know. It was around 12 days ago that the Pope, they announced, was suffering from a flu. But despite that, he still went ahead with all of his appointments, meeting dignitaries and heads of state. Indeed, last Wednesday, he held his general audience. And I was actually at that Wednesday audience with my wife, and I got to meet the Holy Father, and we exchanged a few words. And while he was in good spirits and in good form, you could tell that visibly he was struggling. He was short of breath. And in fact, his pre-prepared speech for that day, instead of reading it to the crowd, he said again with a kind of an exhausted breath, he handed it to a priest and he said, "This priest will read this for me because I'm unwell at the moment." He pushed through. Then on Friday, he had a meeting with the Prime Minister of Slovakia. He met other dignitaries. He met the president and CEO of CNN, the television network. And then after that, last Friday, the Vatican announced, okay, all of the Pope's appointments for the rest of the day have been cancelled, and for the weekend, he's going to hospital for checks and for testing. He went to the Gemelli Hospital, which is the hospital that cares for the popes in Rome, and it was after some testing, they said that he had bronchitis. Now, this isn't unusual. I mean, anytime the Pope goes to the hospital, it's cause for concern. But back in 2023, he'd been hospitalized for bronchitis. He'd had to miss some big international papal journeys. So again, it has happened before and he has bounced back. So the journalists gathered outside of the hospital. We waited all day Saturday, Sunday. They gave us little updates saying that he was getting more tests. He was getting chest x-rays, but he had a slight fever, but he was doing well. He was reading the paper. He was still continuing to call a parish in Gaza, which he has been doing every day. And then on Monday, things got a little more serious. And again, you know, the Vatican pick every word they use carefully when they release these updates. And they said that the tests had shown that his condition was more complex than they thought. So we were thinking, well, does complex mean he just needs different medication? Does complex mean serious? Does it mean worsening? So they said then he had a polymicrobial infection, which is kind of, I think, a mix of different infections and bacteria. Yes, 2 days ago then they announced that with more x-rays, it was announced that the Pope had pneumonia in both lungs.
Or the onset
so
of they phrased it as the onset of pneumonia. You know, is the language important in that regard, that it's the onset of it rather than actual, you know, full pneumonia or what have you?
Yeah, they held it. You're right in that when they gave out the press release, they said the onset, and then they held a press conference. And when people were pushing for clarity, they said, yes, pneumonia has been detected and is there in both lungs. Now, some people were saying on social media, but how can that be possible? Because the Pope only has one lung. But actually, he has 1.5 lung because when he was 21, growing up in Buenos Aires, he had pneumonia then, and they had to remove part of his right lung. So he's already compromised in that sense. He's 88 years old. You know, he's banging on the door of 90. He has put on weight in recent years because he uses a wheelchair. So all of these things added together, while, you know, we're not trying to alarm people. We don't want the cardinals rushing to Rome for a conclave from all over the world yet. But, you know, I talked to one very good doctor about this yesterday, saying, well, what do you think from reading all of this? They said, well, it's quite simple. Can you be treated for pneumonia at that age and pull through? Yes, he could turn a corner, but it is a big mountain to climb. Right. She said to me, looking at all the information, things are probably hanging in the balance a bit. Now, this morning, we got another update from the Vatican saying that he had rested well overnight and that he was reading the paper, he was up and about. And then they went on to say that his heart was holding up well and he was breathing independently.
Colm, in your experience, those that speak on his behalf, the Vatican spokesperson, are they inclined to manage expectations? Are they inclined to perhaps, you know, describe something, you know, as less severe than it might be? What can we look to a past and sort of suggest that, you know, is there PR management going on here, or are they just coming out and outlining things precisely as they are?
No, they are absolutely known historically for playing things like this down. Because I guess, look, unless you're a doctor in the room, and at that age, all bets are off. You could, you know, the Holy Father could pass at any time. He could keep going for another while. I think they don't know either. And they're getting information from the doctors at the hospital. They do not want to cause alarm because if they released a statement saying that things were serious, and when, you know, things were kind of touch and go, you would have an avalanche of people coming to Rome. You would have the cardinals coming from all over the world. You would have the world's media descending on the Vatican and the Gemelli Hospital. So they're trying to remain cautious, but I think optimistic as well. When, you know, when they give out statements, the statement this morning was 2 lines. Hey, he rested well. He got up and he had breakfast. That was the statement this morning. So we're waiting for a more detailed medical press conference later this afternoon. And what I was told yesterday by a doctor, they were saying, well, if they have found that it is full-blown pneumonia in both lungs, the next 28 hours, the next 24 hours will tell a lot.
Yeah, and they don't want to turn it into a vigil in terms of, you know, him coming through it or what have you. The Pope has released some interesting, I don't know, are they statements, letters, or how one described them. Last year, I seem to recall one where, in my first reading, it was effectively, it sounded like he was, you know, not long for this world, so to speak. I don't know what that means. Does that mean he's very much at peace with where he's at? And he was talking of just being conscious that, you know, eventually we all expire. but he seems very much anyway in a place of peace, knowing he's got a job to do, but he can't do it forever.
Yeah, and it's interesting because last year, he was hospitalized again for a bit, and we thought every time he goes into hospital, the rumor mill really intensifies around Rome, and people fear the worst, and we thought, this is it. We don't think he'll pull through. Then he bounced back, and not only did he continue with all of his duties at the Vatican, but he also went on that historic trip to Southeast Asia. He went to Papua New Guinea, he went to Singapore, he went to Indonesia, and he went to East Timor, the longest trip of his papacy. I was on that trip with him, and I was exhausted. So I was looking at him at 88 years of age, thinking, how are you doing this? So he is a fighter, and he's a pope of surprises. But he has just published his book, his life story, recently, the last couple of months. He has talked in the past about retirement, following on from Pope Benedict XVI, who was the first pope to retire in 600 years. But he's a Jesuit, and Jesuits sometimes are hard to read, and it's hard to know what they say. And sometimes they can give mixed signals. A perfect example is when I was on the plane with him coming back from Mongolia 2 years ago, and a journalist asked him, not I, a different one, said, do you think you'll retire? And he said, well, my personal belief is that the papacy is for life, and I believe that it should be until the end. And we said, oh, okay. But then he said, now, that's how I feel today. Ask me again tomorrow, and I might have a different answer. So with this Pope, with this Holy Father, it is hard to know. He could pull. We've seen him bounce back out of the Gemelli Hospital before. The last time he went in, again, people were fearing the worst. On his way out, the car stopped. He got out of the small white car. All of his security and the Swiss Guard were panicking. What's the Holy Father doing? And he went up to the journalist and he made a joke. Someone asked him, how are you? And he said, well, I'm still alive. So with Pope Francis, he doesn't stick to protocol. We don't know what's going to happen. But I can tell you that in Rome, the media are gathering outside. My phone has been ringing for the past 24 hours with American media, European media. I'm booked to go on Australian television, breakfast TV later today. So everyone is concerned, and people are praying and holding vigils outside the hospital.
Indeed, as they're being asked to. Okay, and Colm, on a personal note, congratulations on the recent nuptials. A lovely thing to be able to have an audience with the Pope as a couple as well, too. As someone in your job, but also with your passion, a real treat.
Oh, that's really kind of you to say. I got married in December back in Ireland. Paula, she's a reporter working with the EWTN as well, and it's been a dream come true. I'm 37, so I left it a little bit later.
37's young. Hey, 37's young. Relax.
But no, it's all it all happened so fast. We met each other within 2 years. We were dating, engaged, married.
Lovely.
She's been the best thing that happened to me. And you're right. As soon as we came back from our honeymoon and everything, she said, "Let's go and meet the Holy Father." And I said to her, "Well, Paula, we've so much time. I'm just after getting back from the US on a work trip. We can go next week or the week after." And she said, no, I've got a feeling we should go see him now. So we went, because of her credentials at the Vatican, we got right up to the front. We got to talk to him. And that was 2 days before he went into hospital.
Brilliant. And hopefully he makes that, but we never know. I mean, as you say, he's got a previous medical history. He is 88 years of age. And those inclined to pray, I'm sure, are praying for his full recovery. But still, I imagine things are very much in the balance. For now, Colm, thank you so much.
But remember,
yes,
Greg,
go ahead.
On a positive note, he is getting the best care.
Yes,
in the hospital. He'll have the best doctors. So he will be getting the best treatment. And, I towing the company line, of course, and what I believe in. It's all down to the man above, so let's see.
For sure. I'm so tempted to ask if you've watched Conclave and what you thought of it, but I'm not sure if I should.
You know what? Everyone's been talking about it, and I was flying back from Florida last week for another work thing, and I started watching it on the plane, and then I fell asleep halfway through it.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that from what I've seen so far with the politics and the different personalities, 100% accurate.
Right, we'll see when you get to the end. All right, Colm, thank you very much for that. God bless you. Colm Flynn, Vatican correspondent at E! WT News. It is the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. We do appreciate Column's time there. We appreciate your time in taking your phone out, your device out, and texting us or emailing us. A caller says, this is unbelievable in 2025. These vulnerable kids have no school places. It's time our government takes action. Talk is cheap from them. The need to stand up and be accountable now. And appropriate education is these little kids given rights. And I think I understand, and in chatting to Aoife in front of me, and I could see it in Aoife's face, and certainly could pick it up in the voice of the mums we spoke to a little earlier on. The news that they received that there's no space for their children in September, it affects you just on a. You can see it's affected them on a very, very deep level in terms of the love and care and wanting the best for their children. And I just hope that that's what resonates with the government, that they understand that how devastating on a personal level this is for an entire family, not just for the child, and to make sure the child reaches the potential it can, or he or she can, but that the impact this is having on mums and dads and granny and granddads, I know they feel it big time too, on their emotions, because they want what's best for their children and they want what's best for their children's children. So it goes through the whole family, and I really get that. And I just want to, at any opportunity, make sure that those that maybe have influence in this regard get how deeply upsetting the news that at least 9 families received at the end of last week. Hi, Greg. We're parents to a fun-loving and gorgeous little 5-year-old who is our world. She's non-verbal autistic with a moderate intellectual disability. On Friday, our world came crashing down around us when we received the news that our little Saoirse did not receive a junior infant place in Little Angels Special School Letterkenny due to a lack of availability of places. Due to Saoirse's dual diagnosis, it was recommended by CDNT psychologists that only a specialised school would be able to meet her educational needs. It's so saddening that despite Saoirse being known to specialists in educational services in Donegal for a considerable period of time, having been referred to CDNT in 2021, that she's got no school place for September 25 due to a lack of availability and pre-planning by the Department of Education and Services. An important part to that sentence there. We have contacted the CNOW, who was supportive and aware of our case, but currently also has no alternative to offer for Saoirse, I beg your pardon, as she didn't receive a specialist school place. We would be really grateful if you could support us in accessing a specialist school place in Little Angels for our little girl who deserves a school place like every other child for September. We would be very grateful if you could highlight Saoirse's case to the Minister for Education and advocate for additional supports to be in place so that she can begin junior infants and access this basic human right to education, and is being unfairly disadvantaged as a result of her disability, as she is no alternative to a specialist school. Now, Michelle, thanks very much for that, and a hello to Declan as well. Whilst these emails are going to be forwarded to the Minister's Department as well as me trying to articulate them, he heard some of our earlier contributors. It's a similar story for you, Michelle, and we, Saoirse, but we will make these emails available to the Minister as well. I'm writing to you with great concern over the continuing issues with Little Angels. I've recently seen on Facebook Special Needs Parents Donegal Network Group that there are parents with children with special needs that have been refused a place in Little Angels School. They've been told that there's no capacity for them. It's nearly 2 years ago now that my son, who was attending Little Angels for 4 years, was moved and attached to ETNS Letterkenny together with 17 other pupils without prior consent or consultation with parents. It was rumoured around Letterkenny about this move for months, but parents were not informed of the move until the 14th of June 23, when a letter was received stating that they had outgrown the current campus and were instructed by NCSE and DES to utilise classrooms in another school, with another letter issued on the 16th of June of that year informing parents of the selected child to be moved. The principal stated that it was beyond her control, it would be for a short period of time, and that she wasn't in a position to refuse any child who had applied for a place. As the year progressed and the new school was not completed, we were reassured by the principal that pupils would not remain at ETNS as they needed their classes back for September 24. But on the 28th of June 24, another letter was received saying that the Department of Education had rescheduled works ETNS, and the classes would remain there until the new school opened. To date, we've not had any correspondence or assurances from the school about classes being relocated to the new school. I'd be very grateful if you could get clarification on this matter from the Minister for Special Education. With shortages of classrooms within the new school and our children having been enrolled in Little Angels for a very good reason, it's totally unacceptable for them to have to be moved or removed from a special school environment to a mainstream setting with no guarantee of them returning to this special school environment setting, which they have an entitlement to. They have been let down by NCSE and DES for 2 years, and it's now time for clarification on the matter. I'd be grateful if you could do this for us. Yes, indeed. We'll try and get clarification on all of these issues. It's ridiculous how the state... Oh, I'll come back to that, actually. I'm not sure it's directly I want to stay on the issue of the special schools because there's some on neutrality here. Thank you, Greg, for highlighting this issue. It is clear they are not collecting data correctly. They were aware over the last year that Little Angels was too small. Now these children are being denied a school place. Not a good sign of our society that we don't care or support our most vulnerable fellow special needs parents. Good morning, Greg. Could you ask the Minister if there are any plans for Sculmorrig on Small to get an ASD unit? I have to send my youngest daughter to a different school to her older sisters because they don't currently have one. And considering it's one of the biggest primary schools in Letterkenny, it's a bit of a shame if there are no future plans for it. Thanks to the Minister for coming on. The parents of these poor children will sleep sound now. And thanks to all the people who voted them in again. You couldn't make it up that people voted them in again, but at least we have a state-of-the-art new half of a hospital. Ireland is neutral. Sorry, I'll come back to that. I just want to stay on the issue of the special needs school. It's believed that Little Angels School presently is going to be used for adult day services for intellectual disabilities. I don't want to throw stuff out there that is not... that we can't guarantee, but we'll certainly try and get some clarification on this stuff. We do believe that actually to be the case. Okay, we've done some backgrounding on that. And just to reread that, because it could have some bearing on this conversation, Little Angel School, we understand, is going to be used for adult day services for intellectual disabilities. Right, let us take a break. I will come back with more of your comments. You're always keeping us busy, so greatly appreciated. Let's take this break.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
When it's confirmation time, it's time for a trip to Watson Menswear in Letterkenny. Choose from a great selection of top label, casual and formal wear, blazers and jackets with shirts to match, denims, chinos and footwear from big names like Diesel, Cavani and Tommy Bow. Buy your confirmation outfit at Watson Menswear and one lucky person will get their money back. Stand out on the big day at Watson Menswear, open 7 days a week on Main Street, Letterkenny and at watsonmenswear.com.
Meet the all-new Ford Transit Connect and Transit Courier, both totally redesigned and equally hard-working, bold, versatile and built to go the distance. The Courier, it's the van that delivers, literally. The Connect, the ideal companion for your business, no matter the challenge. And now they're smarter than ever, available in plug-in hybrid and electric. Small vans built for big jobs. Discover the Ford Pro range on Ford.ie or visit your local dealer today.
Whether they're on holiday, watching TV, eating a family meal.
Put it down.
It seems teenagers just refuse to put down their phones. But help is at hand.
Because Fundamania is in Derry.
Real thrills, real fun, outside in the fresh air.
Fundamania Derry at the Brunswick Movie Bowl from February 28th to March 17th.
Choose regular, junior or family wristbands. Turn screen time into scream time. Details at fundamania.co.uk.
Shop Homeland's February mega deals now at your local Homeland or online at homeland.ie. Barry's or Lions 600 tea bags now $19.99, save €4. Grozone Max Greenhouse now only €99, save €50. JFC calf slats 900 by 1200mm now €105, save €21. All this and more until the 23rd of February only. Visit homeland.ie. Nationwide delivery available.
Log on to Revenue's My Account to claim any tax credits you're entitled to and tell us about any extra income you have earned outside the PAYE system. If you're due a refund, you'll get it within days. If you owe us money, we'll work with you on a payment option. My Account. It's quick, it's easy, and it's free.
Now, we're joined in studio by Martin Glynn, who's the owner of the DIY Academy. Good morning to you, Martin. Thanks so much for calling up.
Thanks for having me, Greg.
I think there's a huge appetite, and obviously you're tapping into that for people to be able to do stuff themselves around the house. It doesn't have to be, hanging every door in the house or what have you, but even just bleeding a radiator and then maybe upscaling to stuff that's, more impactful.
Yeah, we're going back to the basics, to be honest. When we set this up, during COVID, to be honest, I was had a bit of time around home, as we all did, and I started to do all this stuff around the house. And just when it kind of came to me, I said, I've seen a lot of men struggling, especially. I was saying, if they knew how to do these basics, it wouldn't be as idle, because we didn't know how long these lockdowns were going to go on at the time. So so that's how we kind of started. And once the lockdowns finished up, then we just set up a few live courses, and we just found it was actually women that were coming to the courses more than men. And we just realised, we are really paring it back to the very basics and showing people start from scratch, because as Irish people we're always well regarded for our trade skills, but it seems to be lost a small bit over the last generation or so. Everyone's just have that fear of making a hole in the wall.
Well, that's it, yeah. And it can be something, often the stuff that comes up is hanging a curtain rail.
100%. I get that all the time.
That's something like that, because you say it's your house, and you before you actually drill, you want to know what's going on, don't you?
Yeah, and it's important to know. And look, it's just information and relieving fear. So when and another thing with this day and age is, like, people have spent so much on their houses, they're afraid to make that mistake. But so much of this is knowing what products to use, what tool to use. We're only a small part of it, to be honest.
Yeah, but in a way too, access to tools has never been like it was before. Don't get me wrong. We've had fantastic hardware stores and all that kind of stuff that have been around for years, but they maybe felt for people very tradey.
Yeah.
You would know that when you buy a roll of sellotape and you get an invoice that's 2 foot long. But I think now, just in terms of access to tools, right, which maybe aren't necessarily professional tools, that helps as well, doesn't it? I think it's a little bit like cooking.
Yeah.
Where cooking became more accessible. And I think sort of doing bits for yourself around the house has become more accessible with the centre aisles and things like that.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm often asked for recommendations for drills and stuff like that. I say, whatever you have is perfect. So you don't need to be buying high end stuff to start something like this. Like a paintbrush, you can get started. You know what I mean? You don't need a van full of tools to hang a picture. So small bits and pieces like that, you can pick them up as you go.
And I don't think there's anything nicer than sort of standing back and admiring your work.
Yeah,
that you've been able to do yourself.
Yeah.
So talk to me about these DIY Academy, this DIY Academy or these DIY workshops. Where are they located and when do they run?
Yeah, so we're all over the country now at this stage. We realised that there was a big fear of going into the hardware shops as well, and there is that there's going to be rakes of vans outside and tradesmen at the counter.
And it's perception, because they're fantastic. It is a bit of a perception, so you're breaking through that a little bit as well.
Yeah, when you go in, so we actually host the work at different shops to host the workshop for us. So we're in Donegal Town next month. So just to get they're in the shop doing the workshop all day and seeing, this is a nice environment. It's not like the old hardware stores we used to have, where there was little cubby holes behind the counter and the boss, the owner only knew where stuff was. Everything is it's laid out perfectly for you.
And you're in Donegal Town Hardware in Donegal Town.
Yeah.
That's correct. Yeah. Which is a brilliant shop anyway. They are fantastic
in there.
Shop, I get stuff in there myself, and they are very understanding that people are coming in with different skill sets, and fellas and women on the floor to help you out and that type of stuff.
Yeah,
so go ahead.
It comes down to like the people behind the counter as well, because a lot of the time, like, we couldn't. There's an awful lot in it as well, so we can't know everything. Like, I'm a tradesman, I don't know. There's lots I don't know. Do you know what I mean? So having that bit of education and that bit of know-how behind the counter makes a big difference. So the likes of Donegal Town there, they're so knowledgeable, and that makes an awful difference. You don't need to know exactly what you need going in the door. You could tell them what you're doing, and they can give you a solution.
So I'd say there's people maybe listening to us sitting on the couch or sitting on in the kitchen with a cup of coffee or tea in their hands, and they're looking over and they see a blank wall, right? And they think, right, something could be nice there. I could, maybe do some, floating shelves, although I don't like floating shelves. But anyway, they could do some shelving and put some nice pictures on it, or hang a clock or a picture or something like that there. they want to do it, but they don't have the confidence to sort of, to go ahead with it. Is that the type of confidence that you can instill in someone as part of these academies?
That's exactly what we're trying to do. And just, you can change the whole energy of a room by just hanging a few photos, and, especially some people that might be in rental accommodation, they're afraid to hang a picture in case they lose deposits, this kind of stuff. But it's ridiculous. There's products there, you can make your house, make it your home very easily just by hanging a few photos, and you can change the whole energy of your room by moving a few photos and putting different ones in. So that's what we're doing, just showing them the base. It really is the basics, and we kind of move on fairly quickly, because once get the basics down, it's kind of the same thing over and over again, and people realise that very quickly. And it's just knowing how to attach different materials.
A caller, for an example, says, I'd love to upgrade my kitchen. I'm going to DIY it as I can't afford a whole new kitchen. I want to paint the cabinets. The only issue is that I have laminate wood effect on the doors. This will need to be peeled off, right? Lots of people are doing that.
Yeah.
That's a biggie, right? Because it depends what's under the laminate and all that kind of stuff. But, I'm not necessarily asking you to give advice on how someone might do that job, but you certainly, I think, could give them the confidence to have a go at it.
That is something we cover, actually, because it's something we've done quite a lot. We fitted all those kitchens back in the mid-noughties, and that laminate's starting to come off now.
Yeah, it's wee bubbles and stuff like that there.
But to be honest, underneath that laminate is a perfectly good door. So you could repaint that, and you could make a brand new kitchen out of it. And
how do you get the laminate off?
You can just heat it. If you had a heat gun or even a hairdryer, and to be honest, a lot of it's literally jump off at the stage. It is coming off, especially in some cabinets. But
I think that's the kind of thing you have to go at, because I've seen people do this and it comes off. It depends where it's been stuck. If it's only been stuck around the edges, for example, and a little patch in the middle, I think they might be surprised at how easy it comes
if you get
off.
a scraper there, it'll all pop off, and it's very, very doable. And just break it down for yourself. Maybe do a couple of doors a night. Don't be overwhelmed. Don't take the whole kitchen off. You know what I mean? Your cabinets are fine. It's just the doors you're doing, really.
I've spoke to some organisations around the country that run these types of courses from time to time, and there's been a massive oversubscription for them. And there's people listening that might go, yeah, they're fantastic, but when's the next one? We know when this next one is. Now, it is a commercial enterprise. People do have to pay. I think it's reasonable, though, for a full day experience. So talk us through the costing for someone who's interested in going, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so for the full day, we start at 9:30 in the morning, and we don't finish till 4:30. I know it seems like a long day, but it's very hands-on and practical, so the day does fly by. So don't think that you have to be listening to me for a full day. You'll be up and you'll be working using drills and learning by doing, we say. And then lunch is included as well. So it's just, we've broken down, like we've learned as we went from we're doing it a couple of years now, and we learned what works and what doesn't work, and the sequence of events to teach this stuff. And we have it pretty down at this stage. And and it's like DIY isn't something you're born with or a gift or anything like that. It's something it's a learned skill.
Mm-hmm.
So if you just, don't think, geez, if I sign up for this now and it's not for me, that's not the case. You know what I mean? It's for everybody. You know what I mean? If you break it down, and you'd be surprised what you learn in a day.
Yeah, and also too, when I'm training someone, say for instance in this area where I'm sitting, for an example, I tend to try and also not necessarily talk about when things go well, because that's easy, right?
Yeah.
It's what you do when something goes wrong.
Yeah.
So what do you do when a phone call drops out? What do you do when something crashes? And with that in mind too, you can empower people to have a go by talking about how you maybe correct a mistake. If you do make a mistake, and even pros make mistakes.
All the time.
You know?
You'd be surprised. We do it more than anybody, I'd imagine. And that's how you learn. It's the same in every walk of life. And we have, what we do then at the end of the workshop, we have everybody, we're all in one group then that we can ask the questions, stuff that you may have missed during the day. We'll refresh everything, and that community is there. It's a safe place for people to ask the questions again, and when they make the mistake, to show what they did, and there's not going to be a rake of tradesmen kind of there judging them. It's just us.
Yeah.
And it's a rake of DIYers, and it's all women as well, so the crack is good.
Right, so there's limited spaces available for the DIY Academy, which is taking place at Donegal Town Hardware Home Value Day DIY shop. And how do people sort of get more information or indeed book their slots? As I say, there's only a few left.
Yeah, it does, because we don't like we want to keep the workshops kind of
if you have too many people there,
yeah, we want to give everybody
benefits
the time.
lost. I get you.
Yeah, I want to give everybody the time they deserve. So yeah, look, if you go onto the DIYacademy.ie, the website there, you'll see everything. Or go onto our social media pages. We're on Instagram and Facebook and
yeah. So could even something like, and I know it's been mentioned in the pamphlet there, but a lot of people want to change their doors and they think, I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
I couldn't change my doors. It requires a little bit of skill and practice and all that kind of stuff, but you can empower people to sort of have a go.
Yeah, well, our houses are just made up of components, and they're very, everything is standard sizes at this stage. So look, it would be higher end to change a door now, but at the same time, if you kind of got into it, it's you build your confidence at this.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
For sure, yeah.
Start by painting your walls, start by hanging a picture. And the confidence builds and builds,
exactly.
And before you know it,
it's just where you could end up effectively once your confidence builds. And I think, I think from in my experience talking to people that do it, it's like going to the gym. Once you start it, you can become quite addicted to it, and your ambition grows then. So who's to say what you might be capable of? Did you mention how people can find out about the slots that are available?
Yeah, so it's just on the DIYacademy.ie.
DIYacademy.ie couldn't be more simple. Yeah. All right then, and there are limited spaces available, and it's taking place, is it this Saturday?
No, it's the 29th of March.
29th of March, okay, sorry, I beg your pardon.
It's women only as well, so lads.
That is specifically women's only.
Yeah, so we just want to make sure that everybody doesn't arrive in the day. Because, and it's just, to be honest, all our workshops end up being nearly women only anyway. But it just might, if people
so you can't teach us anything, you see.
No, we know it all.
We just know it all.
No, but I do male only as well, and but we even our mixed ones are nearly all women anyway. So I let the women know that it is a safe place to come. It's not going to be a rake of lads.
All right, exactly, of course. Check out DIYacademy.ie for that date coming up in March. Listen, thanks so much, Martin, for calling up. I really do appreciate it, and continued success. Sounds like it's a big operation now all around the country. It's
getting
a remarkable success story.
Yeah, we're just kind of riding the wave at the moment, and just trying to get to everybody at the moment. That's the plan. Yeah.
Brilliant. And you're also you also include a tea and coffee and a lunch and all that kind of stuff. So it's a full day experience. Yeah. All right, brilliant stuff. Martin Glynn, owner of the DIY Academy.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
The Dullan family present Remembering Joe, a celebration of the life of Joe Dullan at the Clanry Hotel, Letterkenny, this Saturday, 22nd of February. Tickets priced at €30 and are available from the hotel reception, with overnight packages also available. That's this Saturday at the Clanry Hotel, Letterkenny.
Hi, Paddy here at Shane Conley Cars in Donegal Town. Are you looking to upgrade your car? With Shane Conley Cars, you'll find makes and models for every budget. Great finance options, and we also accept trade-ins. Check out ShaneConleyCars.com or call in to us at Shane Conley Cars from Lonaher Road, Donegal Town.
Get the right tools or equipment to get any job sorted with the great weekend deal at Watson Hire in Letterkenny. Hire any tools or equipment on a Friday for 1 day, and they're yours to use until Monday. 3 days hire for the price of one at Watson Hire every weekend. Get the job done and dusted with this great weekend hire deal at Watson Hire listening in Letterkenny. Call 916-7777 or see watsonhire.ie.
Nutrius XL Yo with lamb and Nutrius Yo with lamb crunch are both formulated to ensure a vigorous lamb and excellent milk yield. Avail of our lambing season offer: 25 kg bags, buy 10 get 1 free, and €15 off per tonne in bulk. Available at your local Homeland store, or contact your farm commercial specialist. Visit nutrius.ie for full nutritional information.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Our new season special occasion wear range is here. Visit us to explore our extensive dress collection in store, or shop online at mcelhennys.com today.
So rain will clear northwards through the morning, with sunny spells developing and southerly winds easing. However, thicker cloud and showery outbreaks of rain will extend from the southwest later in the afternoon, accompanied by fresh and gusty south or southeast winds, temperatures of 9 to 11 degrees. Okay, so just returning to the issue of all children having equal access to education, so that every one of our children can achieve their potential. Magella joins us now. It's not focused on Little Angels, but it does talk to the issues that are ongoing on in this county. And thanks very much, Magella, for your time this morning. I really do appreciate it.
No, thank you.
So talk to me about your son and your lived experience, Majella.
Yeah, my son is 13 years old. He's got severe and profound disabilities with life-limiting conditions. He is now in a severe and profound class in Dunlow Primary School. He's been there since he's 4.5 years old, and we were always under, because it's a severe and profound class and it's similar to a special needs school, that class only, we were always under the illusion that he'd be there until he was 18, because other kids before him have been there until they've reached over their age limit. Sadly, some of them haven't even reached that age. But we were always thought, until this year, we were told a few months back that no, Cian is now to move to the post-primary school. Now, don't get me wrong, I think it's fantastic that post-primary school is so inclusive, but not for a child like Cian.
Mm-hmm.
Cian is at a very vulnerable stage in his life. He's got a lot of medical needs. He's got quadriplegic cerebral palsy, epilepsy, scoliosis. He's got hearing impairment, visual impairment, sleep apnea, osteoporosis. He's a lot of different things going on. And as the years go on, as Cian gets even a cold or flu, it knocks a lot out of him. We lose a little bit of him.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said, it is a life-limiting condition. The same people have been looking after him since he was 4.5 years old. So to move him now to a new setting, a new surroundings, would just be detrimental to him. It just it scares me.
And like our caller a little earlier on, you know, mums know best, and you know that this is not the right move for your child.
Oh, absolutely not. And I've spoken to them and I've explained to them, and I even have got GP letters, consultant letters, just to say in how, like, at the stage the Cian's at now, and how it is. Like, so the past while where I should be enjoying everything with Cian and making memories, I'm stressing a lot.
Because you believe that this is not necessarily about his educational development, that he is at a vulnerable stage in his life now. You're concerned at what impact this move could actually have on him.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And like Cian is like the only thing they could come back to me with was it was age appropriate. Cian, there's nothing age appropriate about Cian, unfortunately.
Well, that sounds a bit blinkered.
He's of no threat to anybody. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Like Cian can't even hold a toy in his hand, so like there's nothing that is age appropriate about Cian. So to put him in along with other kids that are 13, 14 and mixing in school just wouldn't be good for him. Just wouldn't be good for him at all. For his health, for his emotions, taken away from the people that have been looking after him and caring for him since he was 4.5. It's like taken away from his family.
So you have your view. I understand, you know, GP, your local GP and consultant is of the same view you are. So who is not an individual, but who is assessing him and determining that this is the right move for him? You know, is it hands-on? Has he been assessed in person, or are they just simply going by the date on his birth cert?
Going by the date on his birth cert. That's what they're doing. Yeah, and I actually, when I had a meeting with them, I said to them, "Have you met Cian yet?" They hadn't met him, but before we left that meeting, I made sure that they got to meet Cian so they could understand the little boy that I was talking about, the little boy that I have to fight for.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Majella, I mean, obviously, you know, I could sit all day putting individual cases to the minister, but what we will do is take the information you've given us with your permission, and I'm sure you're doing this yourself. I want him to get I want him to get a full sense of the situation here. So we'll be forwarding this on as well, seeking a response from his department. I think it's just very important that it's nice to have a minister that understands, but I think people also want someone who can lay out a plan so that that they can put the pressure on the powers that be to contact you and talk to you.
I think they just need to listen more to the parents. They need to listen to the parents.
Because that's where we've seen the greatest successes, when parents are involved in the decision-making process.
Yeah.
You know, they work with the authorities, not against them. And we've seen that in certain aspects of CDNT. As soon as parents were involved or on board, you know, progress began to happen in a positive way. Majella, I hope things work out for you. I can only imagine the stress, because it's not necessarily about a place for you. It's about a place that you know through your knowledge, but I presume in your heart and soul as well, that this is not for Cian and could have a detrimental impact on him. And that would make anyone struggle to sleep at night, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, right, Magella. Thank you so much for your time. Maeve is going to join us, but Maeve, unfortunately, we're going to have to leave it till after 11, if that is okay. Now, you can hang up, Maeve, and we'll call you back. It's just to have about a minute, and there's absolutely no way I'm going to try and push your lived experience into a minute. So if you could either bear with us on the line there or hang up and we'll call you back. Maeve, you are there. Do you want to hold, or should we call you back?
I'm going to hang up and ring back.
Okay, listen, thanks, Maeve. You hang up and we'll call you back. My apologies. It's just, as I say, these are complex matters and just not something that you can fit into a minute and a half.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
A public interest message from Donegal County Council. Overgrown hedges, shrubs and trees along public roads can become a danger to people using or working on a public road. Donegal County Council is reminding landowners and occupiers of their obligations to trim hedges and trees beside the public road. This should be done before the bird nesting season commences in early March. Donegal County Council thanks the many members of the public who have already carried this work out. Donegal County Council, making our roads safer for all.
The Nissan Juke is now available as a hybrid with an outrageously stylish exterior and a smooth, quiet drive. But that's not all. Buy a 251 Nissan Juke Hybrid and we'll replace it with a 261 Nissan Juke Hybrid for free. Don't miss out. This extraordinary offer is available for a very limited time. For details about this and all our 251 offers, contact your local Nissan dealer or visit nissan.ie. Nissan. Defy ordinary. Terms and conditions apply.
You can't predict a minor injury or illness, but you can be sure of Ophelia Letterkenny's MIU walk-in service. Our priority is to see all patients within 1 hour, from minor illnesses to cuts and breaks, sports and limb injuries to minor burns. Ophelia Letterkenny MIU, located in Scally Place. Accidents don't wait for an appointment. Neither should you.
So he was like messaging me all night and then he just ghosted me.
No way.
Yeah. He was like, "You're so hot, I want to come over."
Okay.
And I was like, "Cool." And he was like, "I'm on my way, driving over right now."
And then?
Nothing.
Phone use while driving can be deadly. Your phone, it won't kill you to put it away. From the Road Safety Authority, visit rsa.ie.
Bridgend Bureau de Change is now open at Rafferty Circle K Bridgend for all your euro, sterling and dollars. Contact Bridgend Bureau de Change at Rafferty Circle K Bridgend. Planning a wedding or caravan fees to pay? Call into Rafferty Circle K Bridgend for all your currency needs. Bridgend Bureau de Change, the #1 Bureau de Change in County Donegal, authorised and regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Loads of you contacting us through WhatsApp, texts and emails about your situation and trying to get appropriate education as you would see it and would know best for your children. A topic will continue into the final hour, but at 11 o'clock on the button, let's get a news update, and it's over to Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The Junior Minister with responsibility for special education and inclusion is to hold a series of meetings to discuss Little Angel School in Letterkenny. Last night in the Dáil, Donegal Deputy Piers Doherty said the new school is too small and some parents are being told there won't be a place for their child. Today on the 9 to Noon Show, Minister Michael Moynihan said he'll be meeting today with the National Council for Special Education to discuss how to resolve the issue. A Donegal senator is to contest the competition for Las Cathaoirleach in the Upper House today. Senator Eileen Flynn has put her name in the ring, and if elected, she would be the first female of an ethnic minority in such a position. However, the senator also says she feels her chances are slim because of the public nature of the vote. She says the ballot should be done in secret so individuals don't feel compelled to vote within their parties. The price of petrol and diesel's risen yet again. The latest AA survey of filling stations has found petrol rose by an average of 4 cents in the past month, up to around €1.80 a litre. Diesel prices also rose by around 4 cents and now costs an average of €1.77 per litre. The backlog in driving tests is causing problems for young people in Inishowen. Councillor Jack Murray says the peninsula has been without a designated tester for over 2 years. The Gaelic says he's received an influx of complaints in recent weeks from young people who are finding it hard to secure employment or travel to their colleges as a result. An East Donegal councillor says legal advice is needed to clarify who's liable for some overgrown trees along roadsides. Serious concerns are being raised over the dangers posed by fallen trees following the death of a 20-year-old man after a tree fell on his car during Storm Eowyn. Councillor Patrick McGowan says it's vital council establish who has responsibility for maintaining trees on the roadside, and if it is the individual landowners, then grant mechanisms must be found through which they can be helped to do what's necessary. And finally, pupils of Gael School na Gehar Maestri in Donegal Town are set to move into their new building this Monday. Almost 2 years ago, the works were due to get underway when government decided to halt the construction in conjunction with 70 others across Ireland. The tender for works was due to expire shortly. Phase 3 of construction to see a special education unit erected is hoped to be completed for next year. That's all for now. I'll be back again with more at 12.
Okay, Donna Marie, thanks very much.
Introducing Instagram Teen Accounts with new built-in protections. Teen accounts are private by default, helping to protect them from unwanted contact. And teenagers under 16 require parental approval to change these protections. Instagram Teen Accounts, new built-in protections for parents' peace of mind. Learn more at instagram.com/teenaccounts.
Okay, you're very welcome back to this Wednesday's 9 till noon show. I am joined on the programme now by Maeve. Maeve, thank you for your time today. I do appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on, Greg.
Right, now you've been listening to much of the conversation today, and you can relate very much to it. Do you want to tell us your situation, Maeve?
Well, I currently have 4 girls with autism, various different degrees, and my middle girl is actually a pupil at Little Angels, has been for the last number of years. She's also intellectually disabled, which is why she met the criteria to go there. My youngest girl has recently been diagnosed. She's 3.5. She's currently in a mainstream play school with an AIM support. The AIM support which had to be fought for, and at first they were only providing her with level 4 support, which meant that she was only going to get additional tools in her room to support her care, which even the people at that preschool setting and myself had to, get reassessed, and then it was granted as level 7, which meant that, an extra person in the room to support her. And as we say, they're very much on inclusion, which is great in some manners, but my youngest daughter has various behavioural issues, biting, and, she's just not very social, and, she needs a lot of support, and a room like that, while everyone in it is fantastic, and, the staff are amazing, I think it's just a very overwhelming experience for her to be in that room. And, she's, while they're focused on inclusion, she's very much excluded because, there's birthday party invitations and I see all the other children coming home with them and she's not. So it's clear that she's not making friends in that environment and that it's not a suitable environment for her.
But you've seen your other child in the Little Angels environment. Is it your middle daughter? And she's benefited greatly from that.
She was previously in a specialist preschool, and she was getting on sort of okay, and through which was the early intervention team, that's now the CDNT, it was assessed that Little Angels was the most appropriate environment for her. I was delighted to have gotten the place, and like other parents that spoke to you earlier were told, that that's her place now until she's 18. I'm now left with the worry, is that going to be the case? Because, when we first heard about this site being oversubscribed, the current site that she was in a year and a half ago, we got a letter home in the bag with no prior warning, just to say that, there's no room for your child at this site. We've had to seek other alternative arrangements, which meant that my daughter, along with 18 other pupils, had to move down to the Educate Together site, And like I say, it's no reflection on the staff there. They were left with a very difficult position. And this was, the solution that came up as a temporary measure. And even the school was meant to have been completed before now. It was only meant to be a very short-term thing. My daughter's still currently down in the Educate Together building, which, although the staff and everyone's great, that's not the issue. She's sort of in a third floor series of classrooms where she's segregated away from the rest of that school and segregated away from her own school environment, and that has led to its own issues, especially at the beginning. She was never really an overly aggressive child, but she became more aggressive, and, getting her up in the morning was a problem. She didn't want to go to school, and she was sort of in self-harming, doing a lot of self-harming, where she was actually physically pulling the hair out of her own head, which was very distressing to watch. And, I reached out to a number of TDs and, the department, and it was closed doors everywhere. We were sort of very much told this is the only alternative arrangement, and unless you want to keep her at home, this is going to be what's happening.
So when she was moved to Educate Together, that was to be a temporary measure until such time as the Little Angel School redevelopment was complete, and your understanding was she'd be moved back to that setting?
She moved to the new site, and at the time we believed the new site would be completed by now. That unfortunately hasn't happened, and I'm still under the impression that when the new site is completed, that she will be moving up there. But like I say, given all the reports and the people that have been told that there's no place for their children, is she ever going to get moved up?
Well, maybe just on paper, Maeve, it might seem that her and the family's needs are being met. So why move her back?
Yeah.
Because like that doesn't tell the story. But I'm just wondering if someone's outside of the sort of local knowledge, if someone's sitting there going, right, well, Maeve's daughter's got a position, so she's fine. So that's another space of capacity we have at Little Angels as an example. We don't know that's the case, but these are the unanswered questions.
Yeah. And no more than the minister, very much being for these units in mainstream schools. That's not a one-size-fits-all approach for every child. Like, my daughter has another year of AIM and that preschool environment that she's in. Like I say, although they're wonderful and they're doing their best with her, I don't believe that that's the appropriate environment she should be in. They're going to probably tell me that, a unit in a mainstream school will be the next move for her, even though she's pre-verbal.
Now, this is the younger daughter who you would hope, I presume, would get into Little Angels.
Yeah, I'm hoping, like I say, I wasn't looking for specialist treatment. She has very challenging needs, and with her sibling already being at the school, I was hopeful that, that would be the best move for her, because I have children in all various sort of strains of autism, and my other two daughters are twins, and they're in a unit in the local national school, and they are thriving there. Like, it's a brilliant move for them. And that's what I mean. Like, you can't just put everybody under a bracket that, we'll just put them into a unit in a mainstream school and that'll be fine. My oldest two are talking, fair enough, they might be a little bit childlike in their behaviour. They're 10, but they don't behave in the manner of 10, if you understand what I'm saying. Whereas the younger two, they're pre-verbal, they're not talking. At least when, like, my middle girl's in Little Angel, she's in an environment when she's with children that are on her level, she feels included, she doesn't feel different.
Yeah, it's interesting.
That's
it's interesting, isn't it,
that
you would have thought on the face of it that inclusivity is the right way, but obviously in some cases it isn't. So Maeve, you're in the position where with the best will in the world, you would like your middle daughter to move back to Little Angels, but you don't know if that's going to happen when it reopens. And also now, September...
Well, that's what we've been told, but, there's no guarantee of that.
Course.
We're also told with new admissions that all children, that they couldn't refuse children, that they, if a child met the criteria, that they had to go to that school, and that was how it was.
They don't have the space.
And
but
now
also
it's an issue that they don't have the space.
And you also don't know what the future holds for your youngest daughter in a year.
No, she's still awaiting, a cognitive assessment and, more in-depth tests, which I hope will put her on the criteria for a special school, because, like I say, although the staff at the current setting she's at are amazing and wonderful and treat her with the very best of care, she's just not in an appropriate environment for her needs, due to all the other children being, neurotypical and unlike her. And like I say, the likes of the birthday invites going home with all the other children and she's left out, that's no way inclusion, in my opinion.
That hurts. There's just no doubt about that.
Yeah, well, it hurts me, and like I say, you can go on the argument that she doesn't understand, but I understand. There may come a day where she will understand, and it's.
Well, we don't know what lands, do we necessarily?
Yeah.
You just don't know what. You just don't know what. You just don't know how exposed someone might be to something, whether they verbalise it or not. How impactful it is on them.
Even with my twins, like there is still instances where they're excluded from birthday parties because they're sort of included into the mainstream class for a majority of lessons, but there's some they're missing out on. But there has been issues where they have been, not included in birthday parties of children locally, and they're at the age where they understand. And the only thing I can do to, sort of alleviate their pain in that sort of instance is if when those birthday parties are going on, I arrange for something else to be going on with us as a family, so they don't feel like they're being not included in those events.
All right, Maeve, it's tough on you too. You have an awful lot of responsibility there. I hope you look after yourself as well, because if you weren't in that situation, to imagine what it must be like to try and deal with all of that, it would seem impossible. But you're doing it and doing it fantastically. So I hope you look after yourself as best you can, Maeve.
Thank you very much, Greg.
All right, take care. All right, thank you. And again, we'll raise these issues with the Minister's office. I appreciate that this morning's discussion is focused on the lack of spaces in special education schools, but a related issue is the wider support services and how it's been lacking for years. Our children who have ASD and intellectual disabilities have had no meaningful speech and language therapy or occupational therapy in over 5 years. The CDNT has undergone some restructural changes, particularly in the Inishowen East areas, but there appears to be an issue recruiting and retaining occupational therapists and speech and language therapists in Donegal. Why, they ask? We're extremely fortunate that our children do have a space in a special education needs school, but the wider support services to enhance the development are painfully slow. We wish the parents on your show the very best, but she, like many other parents, face a long bureaucratic battle ahead to get the supports they deserve. Fight, fight, fight. It always seems to be a fight. Tom, good morning to you. Thanks for holding there.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
I'm all right, Tom. What's your observations?
I was just listening to the programme this morning there, and about space for these children. There's a school opposite Croker House, opposite the cathedral. And it's a fully school. It was a school I went to in my young days. I'm long left it now, and the school is sitting empty. There's bound to be classrooms, and it would be a place that you could develop into extra spaces for classes. That's all I'm sort of putting forward,
Yeah, okay. Tom, listen, noted. Thank you very much for that. I do appreciate your view, short and sharp and to the point. We live in Ardra. In Glenties Comprehensive, there's an additional needs room. In the school, there are children of all levels of needs. My children attend this school but have left. The difference in having children of all abilities in the school has made it a different place and so welcoming and happier. There are changes that wouldn't have been seen 10 years ago. I'd like to praise the school immensely. Okay, that's. I'm glad that that's working out for you. Right, back with more. In fact, we're going to be speaking to Tony O'Brien, the former director of the HSC, after these short messages.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
The Renault Symbioz E-Tech Full Hybrid is a study in balance in an all-new family compact SUV, much like a symphony. The solar-based sunroof illuminates or darkens, and the smart infotainment system has Google built in. It's a soaring crescendo of a family hybrid. The new Renault Symbioz from 0% APR or €1,500 trade-in bonus. Finance is made under a hire purchase agreement. T's and C's apply. MFS, subject to lending criteria. Offers are limited. See Renault.ie.
Beat your personal best with top brands and premium running footwear from Michael Murphy Sports. There's new arrivals from Asics, New Balance, Brooks, Adidas and Under Armour in a range of structured and neutral styles. Get free next day delivery on orders over €85. Find your perfect pair and reach peak performance with michaelmurphysports.ie.
Are you looking for fresh, local, convenient shopping? Mabel Stores has you covered across Donegal. Proudly Donegal owned, your local Mabel store offers everything from apples to AdBlue, all while supporting local suppliers. And throughout the month of February, spend €10 in any Mabel store and you'll receive a voucher for a free regular tea or coffee. Check out your local Mabel store on Facebook for weekly offers and promotions. Oh, and we also sell fuel too. Mabel Stores. Fresh, convenient, local.
Your specialty is quality tiles, bathroom suites and wooden floors. Who has the best range of tiles in Donegal?
Crawford Tiles.
The best wood flooring?
Crawford Tiles.
The best bathroom suites?
Crawford Tiles.
5-day bathroom refits?
Crawford Tiles.
And who's been tampering with my questions?
That'll be me.
Crawford Tiles, Castlefin. That'll be them. 07491 43942.
Restex Beds, celebrating 50 incredible years of helping you dream better, sleep deeper and wake up refreshed. For half a century, we've been your trusted partner in comfort and innovation. And now, introducing the new Glenveigh mattress, designed with cutting-edge technology for ultimate support and luxurious comfort. It's the perfect way to celebrate our golden anniversary with the best sleep of your life. Visit Restex Beds today and experience 50 years of excellence. Restex Beds. Leave the rest to us.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is?
It's 17 minutes past 11 now. As you would be aware, managers at the National Ambulance Service have been instructed not to bring their staff vehicles home when out of hours until a dispute over benefit in kind has been resolved. The instruction was confirmed by the HSC. Tony O'Brien's the former director of the HSC and has been commenting on this and joins me on the show now. Tony, thank you very much for your time.
Good morning, Greg.
Right, this is one of those situations where common sense doesn't seem to be prevailing. What's your view of it, though, especially given your experience?
Well, I don't think there's ever been a time really when senior ambulance officers and training officers and those with the highest levels of skills weren't in a position to respond to emergency calls from their homes because they had their response vehicles with them. Now, we all understand that benefit in kind is a tax-based system which is designed to ensure that people aren't getting benefits other than through their payroll to avoid tax. But to regard the use of a specialist emergency response vehicle as benefit in kind, to use your term, is plain daft. What that does is it deprives communities of the benefit of highly experienced, clinically trained ambulance officers responding often from their own homes, sometimes getting up out of their own beds to deal with emergencies in their own area in situations where they've got cars with blue light sirens and all the necessary equipment to bring life-saving care to people. And this is, I think, particularly important in the more rural parts of the country where response times can be challenged. Just to be clear, we're not talking about ambulances, we're talking about response cars. And the equipment that those cars carry can make the difference. And so to have a tax-based reason to end that is crazy.
And I'm not being facetious, but we aren't seeing these vehicles in Dunn's car park or at the school drop-off. You know, this is literally they're taken home.
They are, and you might well see that someone perhaps on occasion on their way home does call into Dunn's to collect something. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because if there's an emergency in Dunn's, they're there also. But these aren't like family cars. These are commercial vehicles which don't have back seats in them because they're carrying so much equipment. And they're literally taken home or have been taken home. And then on so many occasions that I would know of personally, those officers have responded to calls from home where they've made a vital difference. So whatever that is, it's not a benefit to them. It's actually a benefit to society. And to treat that as something that they should pay tax for the privilege of doing for us is nonsense.
The HSE says the number of instances responded to by vehicle users outside of working hours is minimal. Do you dispute that? I mean, because, as you say, firstly, as well, they're probably looking at this at a national on a national basis where the majority is urban, right? So I'm not sure if that has an impact. But do you think that their stats are maybe they're not catching all of the instances, or perhaps they're just not telling the full story of maybe a rural-urban population divide?
Well, if you take the number of responses as a proportion of the total number of instances when an ambulance is sent or a patient is transferred by ambulance, it's minimal in that context. But I tell you, it's not minimal if you're the person having the cardiac arrest. It's not minimal if you're the person in a multi-vehicle road traffic collision and the nearest person to you up till now has been a response officer who's had the benefit of having their car available to them with all the necessary equipment. So minimal in percentage terms maybe, but it's not minimal in the real situation. And you can have all sorts of debates about whether it's a good idea or not to be reliant on officers doing that, but it certainly shouldn't be regarded as something that they should be taxed for. That just doesn't make any sense to me.
Do you believe that the National Ambulance Service's hands are tied and, they can't be seen to be going against revenue on a matter like this, and it's actually revenue or those that maybe have influence that need to find some sort of an exemption or say for common sense to
Well, the HSC and the ambulance service are, of course, bound by the law of the land. So if the revenue are insisting that this is a benefit in kind, taxable benefit, there's not much the HSC or the ambulance service can do about that. But there's a lot that people in central government can do about that. This isn't like a sales rep who travels the country during the day, takes the car home and has the benefit of it at the weekend as their personal car and doesn't have to have a car of their own. This is a completely different situation. And therefore, I think it calls for a different way of thinking about it. These are not a benefit in kind. The benefit is to us, those of us who will one day benefit from receiving emergency intervention from one of these officers, and who may not now be in a position to do so. So I'm not arguing about the stats. This isn't something that is a big proportion of what the ambulance service does. But on those instances where an emergency response is required, it's simply required. And in the future, those officers may still go out in their own cars, but they won't have all the equipment. They won't be able to get there as quick. And it's just a backward step.
And also often too, their vehicle might be an all-terrain vehicle or four-wheel drive or what have you. You throw in winter or hard to reach places as well. Their own vehicle may not be able to, if responding from home, may not be able to reach. And we know how important time is. So that's an added benefit, I think, of having these vehicles in the community.
Yeah, I think there is nothing but benefit to be gained from supporting this type of response. And if it's down to a tax rule, and I understand it is down to a tax rule, then there are people in authority in this country who have the benefit, who have the opportunity to make an exemption in relation to this type of vehicle use, because it literally cannot logically be regarded as something that brings a benefit to the person who's driving that car. In fact, it brings a burden to them. But they're people who, by their nature, provided they're available, will always want to respond to emergencies, and we're taking away from them a really important tool that until now they've had.
Yeah, for sure, and maybe even expecting them to do it in their own vehicle, which in itself might present extra danger or who's to say. Okay, Tony, listen, thanks very much for your insight. I do appreciate it.
You're welcome. Take good care.
Tony O'Brien, former director of the HSC, appreciate it. The response is a response that's been out for over a week now. Effectively, the HSC saying that they cannot support the use of publicly owned emergency vehicles for purposes that the Revenue Commissioner considers potentially personal use or benefit, which is the commute to and from work, I presume. Which to the letter of the law, maybe that is correct, but. Surely Revenue have the capacity to make an exception for NAS managers to take their vehicles home. I'm sure many of you have already commented on this as it was covered earlier in the week, but please feel free to text us if you have anything further to add. Right, so we had a correspondence from a listener, and we always seek to get answers. We don't just say it, right? We do follow up, mostly off air, it has to be said. We received this correspondence from a listener. My mum rang NowDoc at 7:30 one night. They wanted her to get an ambulance as she's an emergency patient as she's prone to clots. She refused the ambulance. She was an emergency call and NowDoc tried to ring the emergency department for 30 minutes and they still couldn't get through. We were told to say that there was an emergency and to request an x-ray at the desk. Mum is still sitting in triage this morning. She got an ECG and blood done at 5 a.m. All she needs was an x-ray and she's still waiting. She's an emergency case as she's prone to clots. This clot could go anywhere. I would be with her only I have young children. She's an emergency case and NowDoc rang ahead and everything. This is an absolute disgrace. She's waiting since 7:30 yesterday and she needs an x-ray. Now, this obviously was of a time. Hopefully it's been resolved since. Now, NowDoc did want to get an ambulance but she refused the ambulance, and I believe they wanted to transport her to the hospital as an emergency, to be admitted then as an emergency. That sounds complicated to me, but anyway, let's see what the HSE had to say. We're committed to treating everyone who presents at an emergency department, but we do so strictly in order of medical priority. All patients will be seen and treated, with the sickest and most urgent patients being prioritised. This can result in longer wait times for those who do not require urgent care. The hospital acknowledges that these delays are very difficult for patients and their families and apologises for the inconvenience and distress these delays cause. While we cannot comment on individual cases, if any patient or family has concerns or questions in relation to their care, they can contact the hospital directly and we'll discuss it further. We regret that any service user should have a negative experience. The HSE has a feedback, comment and complaints process in place as part of our service. Your service, you'll say. Service users or their families may give feedback or make complaints in person or make written complaints, which have set timelines for responding. We appreciate the response there. I don't think it's going to satisfy our listener, but that is the response from the HSE nonetheless. Thankfully, my son, says a listener, hasn't got profound learning disabilities. I've had to battle for 3 years to get an assessment. I went to the principal requesting an ASD class. I went to NCSC and CNOW to request my son a place for an ASD class. I was told that places have been given out. I was told that I would have to send my son to another school 15 minutes away, and he's in 4th class. Starting him again was not an option. They've been talking about extra funding for years, yet it won't make a difference. My child had to go to Belfast for an assessment. It's not just Little Angels that is crying out for support. Another, I listened to the Dáil discussion last night. What I took from this is the government's answer to the problem is open more special classes in mainstream schools. As a teacher of a special class in a mainstream school, I've experienced a major challenge in gaining the needed therapeutic services, SLT, OT, physio, etc., that my students needed due to the CDNT having massive caseloads or the HSE unable to fill positions. There's no point in opening all these classes when the necessary services are not readily available to help, assist and guide teachers and SNAs to best meet the needs of our vulnerable children. And much of that comment there, and we do appreciate it from a listener, I did put to the Minister, and you heard his answer. Hi Greg, on the eye care situation in Ireland, did you know there's a waiting list of 4 years to get a cataract done and €1,800 to go private? Well, I did know, but I've been reminded. Ireland is neutral, says the listener. This government cannot send our army anywhere except under the UN. Indeed, of course, and it would be, I presume, under a similar situation as we see our soldiers go to the Lebanon. This government, or the government, must stop allowing vulture funds to buy property in Ireland as they're hiking up the rents and excluding locals from buying houses and apartments. Unfortunately, they won't do this as our government are corporate lackeys. That is an interesting comment. It is kind of complicated because a lot of the vulture fund money is what's actually driving any development at all in this country. And there is concerns by some that they might move that money elsewhere. Media not cover the possibility of peace and that Trump said Ukraine started the war. Greg still thinks Russia blew up its own pipeline and Hunter Biden's laptop was nothing to look at. Remember your trip to Brussels? First page journalists at its best, having a clue what that's about. We did cover that, did mention that, and I don't know what you're on about. Russia blowing up its own pipeline. I certainly have no interest in Hunter Biden's laptop. I didn't track that at all. And the Brussels trip, I don't know, is that because it was funded by the EU? Maybe that's why they're taking issue with that. It's ridiculous how the state has no problem finding and funding modular buildings for Ukrainians, but can never produce them to meet the needs of Irish citizens. Well, a decision was made, particularly in the context of the defective concrete blocks, that prefabbed homes would not be used as a mechanism to ease the housing situation. That was stated on the record on this show. The government must stop allowing I've read that one. Ireland is neutral. The government cannot send our army anywhere. I've also read that one. What's going on with me? Jack Murray was talking about driving tests. Never mind the driving tests, Jack, says the listener. What about the leisure centre in Buncrana? Going for years too long, and Donegal County councillors are sitting on their hands. Disgraceful. Now, I know the Donegal County councillors in that area and the local councillors will say they've literally been banging the drum on this in the council chambers. They've secured some funding from the council and they're waiting on national funding to progress that. And really, I suppose, locally, not that I'm their spokesperson, is there much else they can do? I don't know, but as I say, I just am aware that the local councillors have worked quite hard on that. Whether you believe it to be hard enough, of course, that's up to you, and I certainly wouldn't try to convince you otherwise.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Whether they're on holiday, watching TV, eating a family meal.
Put it down.
It seems teenagers just refuse to put down their phones. But help is at hand. Because Fundamania is in Derry. Real thrills, real fun, outside in the fresh air. Fundamania Derry at the Brunswick Movie Bowl from February 28th to March 17th. Choose regular, junior or family wristbands. Turn screen time into scream time. Details at fundamania.co.uk.
If you have a cough, flu, sore throat, or if you're just feeling miserable, don't suffer through it. At McGee's Chemist, we have the expertise to help you feel better. Our pharmacists and experienced staff will recommend the most effective over-the-counter solutions and give advice on how best to manage your symptoms. At McGee's, we have a wide range of trusted brands and products to help you recover. McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny. For healthcare help and advice you can always trust.
If you're ready to transform your space this spring, Foy's have the experts to make your dream design come true. Their interior design and paint colour consultants are there to help with free consultations throughout February. Whether it's a home makeover or a commercial project, they've got you covered with advice on paint, wallpaper, curtains, blinds and furniture styling. Plus, they're the largest paint stockists in the Northwest. Book your consultation today and let Foy's bring your interior to life.
I've just had the Eclipse Cinemas experience. Wow, they truly have taken a night at the movies to a whole new level. Amazing recliner chairs, director's lounge VIP rooms, pizza and hot food served to your seat. Have a glass of wine and enjoy the film on the big screen. Try it for yourself at Eclipse Cinemas Bundoran and Lifford Strabane, where the stars shine brighter. By the way, the pizzas are amazing. You can book your seat anytime at eclipsecinemas.ie.
Want a new electric car? Call Heron Auto Donegal Town on 074 9722 555. We have a full range of Kia electric cars in stock with 0% finance and 7-year warranty. There's never been a better time to drive electric with a range of up to 600 kilometres. Drive with confidence. Drive with Heron Auto Donegal Town, your award-winning EV dealership.
Business Matters in association with Local Enterprise Office Donegal. Local Enterprise Week from the 3rd to the 7th of March has over 20 events across Donegal for those starting, growing or scaling a business. To see the lineup of speakers or to book, see localenterprise.ie/Donegal.
All right, it is Wednesday, it's Business Matters time, and we're joined on the programme by Chris Ashmore. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Greg.
Thank you so much for joining us. And we kind of had to rush things a little bit last week, but we've a bit more time today. Let's catch up on some news. Errigal College, they're hosting an event.
Yes, Errigal College in Letterkenny are hosting an enterprise morning. Now, it's taking place in the school gym on Tuesday, the 25th of February from 9:30. And this event will showcase some of the work of its transition year students, which have undertaken the work as part of their enterprise module under the categories of business and innovation. So hopefully, Greg, some budding young entrepreneurs will shine through. And as a result of this enterprise morning, a number of the mini companies that have been set up will be selected to represent the school at the Regional Student Enterprise Programme competition, which is organised by the local enterprise office. So a great initiative to encourage young people to develop an entrepreneurial flair.
Fantastic stuff. Now we like to keep our eye on wind and wind generation, electricity generation from wind. What's the latest stats telling us?
Yes, wind energy supplied 32% of Ireland's electricity last year, according to the latest report. Donegal was ranked 6th in terms of the counties producing the most wind energy. Cork and Kerry were the top two, between them producing about 25% of the total. Interestingly, though, Greg, it was the worst year on record for the amount of wind power that was lost due to challenges with the electricity grid capacity. Now, basically what's happening here is sometimes wind farm operators are having to stop the turbines because they're producing too much electricity for the grid to handle, and there can be limitations, particularly in some rural areas. So, it's a waste. The power has been generated, but they're not able to get it fully into the system.
No, and we're increasing, we have and been increasing wind generation, but the infrastructure is simply not there to accommodate we're losing so much electricity because the wind could be blowing at a time we don't need it, but we've no real way of storing it, it would seem. Right, now we're getting down to deadline day for a number of awards that are upcoming.
Yes, just to mention the deadline for nominations for the prestigious 2025 Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year Awards. The deadline on the 27th of February, so just over a week away. EOI.ie for information there. And the Irish Red Cross Humanitarian Awards are open for nominations until Friday week, and one of the categories there, Corporate Impact of the Year, and you can get more details on the Irish Red Cross Humanitarian Awards website.
All right, brilliant stuff. We're awaiting some quite important decisions as it relates to planning, not wishing to sort of conflate issues, but in relation to the redevelopment of the site of the Creasle explosion, we anticipate that decision to be made today. I won't comment beyond that, but I suspect there'll be quite a reaction to that decision when it is actually made. But outside of that, other decisions also due to be made public, Chris.
Yes, a number of decisions in the coming week. Donegal County Council will give its verdict on planning applications for a 25-unit housing and apartment development in Falcarra, 21 houses in Balladurg in Letterkenny, and 56 houses and apartments in Carndonagh. So again, Greg, further indication of more activity in the construction sector, and more homes will be built in the coming year or so.
All right, let's get to the Highland Radio's Business Matters podcast, produced and presented by Chris Ashmore. It is a podcast available for you every single Wednesday to listen at your leisure, and it's available too as a radio show on a Sunday. And dual focus this week, Chris.
Yes, first up, I've been looking at the whole area of 3D constructing printing. Now, this is something that I think is absolutely fascinating. Two Donegal natives, Paul Kelly and Richard Mullen, originally from Letterkenny and Ballybofey, respectively. They're the founders of a company known as Harcourt Technologies Limited, or HTL.Tech, and they have partnered up with a Danish firm, Cobod International, which is the world leader in 3D construction printing solutions. So what it is, Greg, we're all familiar with the printer in the house that prints out the ink onto the paper. This is a glorified version of that. Instead of printing ink, it's actually printing concrete, and it means you can build walls in a much quicker way. And of significance, 3 houses have just been completed recently, and people have moved into them for, it's up in Dundalk, a project initiated by Louth County Council using this 3D construction technology. So I've been speaking to Paul Kelly, and he's been explaining more about the whole process.
It's an incredibly simple process, really. It's extruding concrete and delivering masonry walls, which can be cavity wall construction, which most houses in Ireland are built with, or it could be a single leaf wall. And it's concrete fed through a printer, pumped through a hose to a nozzle, which follows a digital model and very accurately places the concrete on site to build the walls.
Looking ahead, Paul, the next 3 years, the next 5 years, just how big could this all become?
It's hard to say. It's a solution. I think the country needs a number of solutions. I think we can increase it to meet the demand. There will be a number of solutions out there. I think they're all needed. This is a strong solution. It ticks the boxes. We look forward to seeing where that road takes us.
Yeah, and a lot of people will understand this process because they might have 3D printers at home where they can build little phone cases or little toys or whatever it might be. It's really quite remarkable. Over the course of a number of hours, the printer goes back and forwards and up and down, laying plastic to create these amazing 3D objects in your house. And this is the same. I've seen them in action. It is an arm that is programmed to follow a certain path, and layer by layer by layer, that the house rises from the ground. It'll be interesting to see if it catches on. A lot of it, always comes down to cost, but fascinating. We'll see how much it may or may not contribute to house development into the future, Chris.
Yes, and just a note on the podcast for Business Matters this week, there's a couple of links to YouTube videos showing how the whole process evolves. So, fascinating to watch. All
right, your second topic, Enterprise Week, Local Enterprise Week, to give it its full title.
A big event this for the Local Enterprise Office, the main event on the calendar. I was down at the official launch of details about this year's Local Enterprise Week. Now, it runs from March the 3rd to the 7th, so you've time to go to the Local Enterprise website. You can sign up. Over 20 events. The theme this year is Believe. And, if you're in business or thinking of going into business, lots of interesting events and some important guest speakers as well. I spoke to a number of people at the launch, and in this clip we can hear from Brenda Hegarty, who's the head of enterprise at the Local Enterprise Office, Donegal.
And it's all about encouraging and inspiring that belief. This is the third year of those themes. So the first year, be inspired, be brave, and now believe. And that's all of the traits that you require when you want to set up and start and grow a business in Donegal. But the Local Enterprise Office and the other agencies are here to support people to get started, and also then when they are in business to address some of the challenges, whether that be looking at their sustainability, looking at exporting, maybe growing the business, looking at employment, looking at investment in new equipment. The Local Enterprise Office and the partners have a range of supports, not to mention education and training. And there is great events happening by all of those support agencies right across the week. So it's kicking off on March the 7th.
All right, they're always really, really busy. Kristen, you were talking there about 3D building. The figures came out yesterday. 9% of residential properties in Donegal are empty, which is really quite remarkable, isn't it? 1 in 10 empty. And these are habitable houses. They're not derelict. They are there ready to go. I presume there's a mix of holiday homes and second properties and all that kind of stuff. But it's amazing. Over 2,000 derelict properties which could be done up and fed into the housing market. So it's great to see the new build stuff, but there's already an awful lot of stuff there. And actually in December, there were 780 houses or apartments or units of accommodation under construction, according to Geo Directory. So hopefully some of that property becomes available for rent, and some of these new houses that you've been highlighting also come onto the stream. But we have, strangely, way more capacity in our housing stock already to mean no one should ever be homeless. But I suppose it's up to people what they do with their own private property, Chris.
Yeah, and I think today the government, there's been an announcement in relation to vacant properties and the refurbishment grants that are available there, that they're going to sort of change the process, that rather than having you to complete it and then claim back the money, that you'll be able to get it in phases.
Stage payments. That's a game changer. It is a game changer because a lot of people don't have access to the bridging finances. Okay, so all of today's interviews are available for you on the podcast. It's Business Matters in the Listen Back section. And of course, it's going to be broadcast on Sunday, Chris.
That's right, after the 6 o'clock news on Sunday. And as you mentioned, it's available online. And if you want to contact me, it's businessmatters@highlandradio.com.
Have a goodie. Take care, Chris. That is Chris Ashmore joining us there. Very much appreciated. Back with more after these. In fact, I think we might be speaking about... We might be speaking about a video that's appeared online, people inside the Waterworld building in Bundoran. Well, the person in the building holding the camera, he's joined us on the show before. He'll be back after these.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
In these difficult, turbulent times around the world, people all over Ireland are selflessly working to help those in need. The Irish Red Cross Humanitarian Awards are here to celebrate these incredible people. Go to redcross.ie and nominate a volunteer or group in the community who you think deserves an award. Nominations close Friday, February 28th. The Irish Red Cross Humanitarian Awards. Because good deeds matter. Visit redcross.ie.
Want to work with the very best? Then make the all-new Nissan Interstar your next recruit. It's first impressions that count, and the Nissan Interstar doesn't disappoint. With a brand new eye-catching grille and jaw-dropping design. And with a stronger-than-ever payload, it has the power to match your ambition. Available now in electric and diesel versions. Let the world know you mean business with the all-new Nissan Interstar. Contact your local dealer or visit nissan.ie. Nissan. Defy ordinary.
Here at Braden's House to Home Interiors, Moville and Bridgend, we stock recliner and fabric suites, dining tables and chairs, beds and mattresses, curtains and rugs, and don't forget our large flooring department stocking carpet, vinyl and laminate flooring. We can't be beaten on price or quality and give a weekly delivery service to Donegal, Derry and Strabane, not to be matched. So call in today to Braden's House to Home Interiors, Moville or Bridgend for all your home furnishing needs.
If you're looking for a competitive insurance quote, contact Hickey Clark and Langan Insurance Brokers in Letterkenny. Home, car or van insurance, farm, commercial or public liability insurance. They compare quotes from all the leading insurers so you get a great price. Call Hickey Clark and Langan on 9126688 or call into the office at Ballymacool, Letterkenny. Hickey Clark and Langan General Insurances Limited, trading as Hickey Clark and Langan, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Our new season special occasion wear range is here. Visit us to explore our extensive dress collection in store or shop online at mcelhennys.com today.
So, sunny spells developing and southerly winds easing. However, thicker cloud and showery outbreaks of rain will extend from the southwest later in the afternoon, accompanied by fresh and gusty south or southwest winds, highs of 9 to 11 degrees. Jamie's back on the show. Good morning, Jamie.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm doing all right. Last time we had a conversation, it triggered a national story and a HSE investigation. This was the filming of what seemed to be abandoned medical files in Letterkenny. Before we talk about Waterworld, whatever came of that? Were you asked to meet the police or Gardaí, or what happened, or if anything?
Nothing. It was actually all dropped. The hospital, obviously, they come at us saying that we broke in, all that sort of carry on, but the guards, they reviewed it all and we had done nothing wrong, so it was all dropped.
Am I right in saying shortly after that, though, you met the guards by appointment, or did that not happen?
Yes, we were in Milan. I think it was the day after we came home from Milan. We had an interview with them.
Yeah.
We sort of just spoke about what we spoke here, about how we get in on Wybron, etc. And yeah.
And I think at that time, when I chatted to you, Jamie, if I remember correctly, you actually believed you were doing a public service. Do you feel that the investigations that followed sort of, I suppose, justified what your view was?
Yeah, I feel like we done, and I feel like the public as well, thought we done a great job, because apparently all them documents were washed away in a flood and were destroyed. So, I mean, I'm hoping a lot of people then got their documents back.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll see. Right. So, I mean, in talking to you, I'm not endorsing what you do. I don't judge people.
Mm-hmm.
People can make up their own mind in relation to that. But
yeah.
You did enter Waterworld, which is ordinarily closed for the winter. That video's been circulating on social media. Did you break into Waterworld, or what was your motivation?
No, absolutely not. I didn't break in. I mean, just to say, to start off with, massive shout out to my cameraman, Ben, because he records all our ways in and how we do everything, so that in case it comes to this, we always have evidence that there was no wrongdoing. But how we done it, we were supposed to be doing an abandoned hotel in sort of like across the road. When we pulled into the car park, we seen the leisure centre. And honestly, we just went for a walk around it, and we saw a door that was wide open. And obviously us being nosy, we just thought we would take a look in.
But even though the door's open, Jamie, you are trespassing though, and is it responsible to be going down the slides? I mean, you know, and I do know you video this and put it out on the internet and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, would you concede that you shouldn't be trespassing, that you did break the law in that regard? I'm not saying you did, and the Gardaí, it's up to the Gardaí to determine that one way or other, not me, right? But you would accept it. Like if I leave my front door open in my house,
Okay.
I don't want you coming in and videoing around the place.
I know, but when you think of it, it's a different sort of situation, isn't it? Like, we're not going to be just, you know, coming into your house. I think the situation's not the same. And like I say, usually it is abandoned buildings. But that time we saw a door open. And it was all just an adventure, really, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Because, as you know, it's riddled in cameras. Waterworld has, you'll see in YouTube video, a lot of cameras. So, you know, they'll watch that back and they'll see that there was no wrongdoing or no damage or anything.
But are you sort of then, to some extent, doing, I would imagine, are you familiar with the auditors that we see in Britain and America and a little bit to less extent in the Republic? Are you almost like security auditors? Is that how you see it, that you're not breaking in, that you're exposing that these places aren't secure?
No, I wouldn't say we are or anything like that.
I'm not saying you're a sovereign citizen, don't get me wrong.
Yeah. No, we have an audience, and obviously we're interested in what's left in these abandoned buildings, and everyone who watches are interested as well. Because it is quite interesting, you know, what all gets left behind and how things look maybe 10, 20 years after it's just been left. It's not really anything to do with the security. Like, we don't go out thinking, you know, how can we get past this security, or like how can we, you know, like annoy the security, or let's see how weak their security is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay. The latest video of the Gardaí reached out to you on this one?
No,
all right.
Haven't heard anything, no.
All right. What's the most interesting building you've ever went into? Again, I'm not endorsing what you do. It's up to people to judge. But what's the most interesting building you ever went in?
Probably an abandoned hospital in Spain where we found organs. That would probably be number one.
Yeah, that would be up there. I suppose it's what you're into. All right, Jamie,
yeah,
listen.
I mean, we didn't expect it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, plenty of people enjoy the work that you do. We appreciate your time. Take care of yourself.
Yeah, it's perfect. Thank you.
All right, Jamie, take care. That's Jamie there. What do you think of the work that they do? 086 60 25,000. Plenty of you commenting on our socials. Gillian says, we love Jamie and Ben. Josh, just exploring abandoned buildings, though it's not abandoned as such. But anyway, I take your point, and on it goes. You're chatting away there. We welcome you, the viewers, interested in Jamie's piece there. Back to more serious matters closer to home. The Minister this morning did give some hope to parents, but really the government policy is not to invest too much long-term provision for special needs schools, because in 20 years we'll have very few children with disabilities. They're saying most have been terminated after diagnosis in the womb. I mean, I think that's going to really, really cut deep into people that to suggest that. I know lots of people who would never dream of making that decision. And I know everyone's entitled to your opinion, but that's just going to hurt a lot of people to get your opinion over the line. As I say, and I just really I read everything, but that just doesn't rest easy with me. But maybe people agree with you. I don't know. Hi, Greg. Our care for sick and elderly in the community is at a critical stage. Our special additional needs children can't get spaces in schools, and our young people are left can't even do a driving test. Our county is in a bad state, they believe. Hi, Greg. Work vehicle being brought home, but not outside the state. Like everything, these perks can be abused. Most of us park up the work vehicle when finished work. It was noted previously on Primetime or Spotlight the abuse of HSE vehicles. I myself noted HSE paramedical vehicles and evening weekends in shopping centres around Derry. The best was seeing one in Victoria Square, Belfast. I haven't ever seen it, Oisin. I'm not doubting that you have. If these people get a little bit of benefit and they have their vehicle, 5 miles from my house, and God forbid something may happen, and the help gets there quicker, round of applause. In 2023, 26 billion was sent from Ireland to foreign aid, and we can't even provide places in schools and special needs facilities for our own children. I'm not sure if the figure's 26 billion. I've no reason to doubt you, but there's plenty left. The kitty's not empty. It's not like we decided to send 26 billion to foreign aid and then we ran out of money to look after people at home. There's plenty of money there. The money is there. It's just the will and the plan is absent, some would feel. Why are fuel prices continuing to rise here in Ireland while they're falling in Spain? Don't know the answer to that. Maybe it's to do with tax. Petrol and diesel prices in Spain have fallen for the second week in a row, remaining noticeably cheaper than the EU average. How much do they tax? Because it's only a small portion. Because we tax so much, when the price come down, it's a small proportion of the overall charge. Maybe in Spain, there's less tax, and therefore the drop is seen as more significant. I'm winging it there. I don't know if that's the answer, but I believe that maybe it is something to do with it. Can someone find out why the cross and chapel has been removed from the ATE campus? It's not been removed from the ATE. So we found it out for you. I'm not laughing at it. It's just, this is a very quick response. We got onto the ATU. They say the cross has not been removed from the chapel at the ATU. So someone believed the cross and chapel had been removed from the ATU, but it's not. And maybe someone said it and it's gone around and done the rounds on social media. All right. It is the 9 till noon show. And that was the 9 till noon show. Thank you so much to all of you who listened to the show or indeed watched the programme.